Okay, we're recording.
I call this budget meeting to order for February 28, 2019. We'll start with Jason is absent. And actually my watch is 6:01. And we'll start with public participation. Anybody, any public want to participate?
I got some. Bill Towers, 14 Maple Avenue. Junior. Thank you. I'm speaking on behalf of the town of East Windsor Fire Marshal's budget. I saw that he put in for a stipend and that he has $200 for miscellaneous purchases. I just go on what I heard from the tape last night. I don't know how anybody can do a job with $200. Maybe that pays for stamps. I really think this board, if that's a town agency or if that's he should be here. I mean, he doesn't have a computer because he gave me one of his fire investigation reports that I don't know if I can return to get my money back because I paid for it. But for me, the town is being scammed. You either get the guys some help, get somebody in there that can lead the position and do a good job, but it's collecting a salary and far from doing a good job. Maybe you guys think he's doing a good job, but he should be here asking for, computers. I'm sure he must have the latest technology in photos, evidence collection. I mean, that's a lot of stuff that goes into it. But I don't know how he's doing his job collecting a paycheck at $200 a year for spending. That's all.
Okay, thank you. More public participation. Okay, hearing none. Capital improvement. Come up to the table.
Bring a comfy chair over if that's okay.
That's okay.
Cost you $5.
Well, I paid for it in my taxes.
We're right at the end, just before section 8. And it's
in tab 4, no, 7, and
Yeah,
it's towards
the-
the back.
yeah, 910-700.
You guys should have a chart of projects that looks like this behind it, hopefully.
Yeah, flip the page.
Turn a couple more pages.
Okay, I have a couple questions on the chart.
Okay, before we go to the chart, I had a couple things I wanted to just kind of like lay out what we do as a commission so that
Okay.
everybody is on the same page.
All right,
So our calendar basically says we start with our appointments and then data comes in from the departments by September 15th. And our recommendations are due to the Board of Selectmen by the 1st of November. So that gives us about a month. So by the time they get here and copies are made and books are prepared, there's a little time there as well as some time between meetings to prepare and keep up with the changes that we make at each meeting. So we typically have 5 meetings, 3 where we ask departments to project or to present their projects. We sit usually one night to do all the ranking and another night to come up with our budget request recommendation. So during each of our presentation meetings, we meet with each of the departments to discuss their projects, the need for them and the estimated cost of them. A note about project estimates. They're difficult to obtain. You can't get exact quotes for work. There's no time frame for the work to be done. There's no guarantee that the project will ever be done. And vendors are generally not interested in developing detailed quotes under those kinds of circumstances. So the department heads use their experience and the readily available cost information that they can get online, et cetera, and from their experience to develop their estimates. And I think it's important to note that the time the proposals are prepared, the actual project work is at a minimum about a year away. Because they're doing this over the summer and fall, they're not going to get any money until at least July 1st of the following year. So they have to add some small cushion for inflation changes in going rates for construction and such and those kinds of things. So, and they don't know whether their project's going to be done in a year or 2 years or 5 years, if ever. So
historically, do you have an idea as to how the actuals turn out compared to the estimates that are provided by the?
I do not. That is really something that, as a committee, is not really within our purview. So it's for us, we look at the estimate and we work from that. In my personal opinion, that the department heads should have a process for developing estimates for projects, and I assume that that is overseen by their supervisor, which is Bob, as the first selectman. So I assume that if they're not following that process or they're not building the project to the specs that they gave us, that's something that goes between you and them after the fact. Obviously, if there's not enough money based on what was given, and the project comes in higher, you have to cut things. Again, I assume they go through that with Bob. Same as if it comes in, the money comes in lower than what they were given. I also assume they don't gold plate it and do all sorts of extra stuff. That money comes back into the account.
It would seem to me that the actual versus estimate is relatively easy to track. Would that be of value to the CIP to know that?
I don't think so, because reality is that's really an after-the-fact thing, not really part of our purview. So long as they're giving us good estimates up front, and if they're not, again, that comes kind of back between Bob and them. If all their projects are coming in way under or way over, that's the supervisor's discussion with his employee, not really mine. So we take all those projects during our ranking and we kind of prioritize them based on 7 factors. And we do that so that we get an impartial, or as impartial as possible, position for each project and how important it is to the town. We look at things like, is it one of our 3 main obligations, public safety, public education, or infrastructure? Is it mandated? Or do we have a statutory obligation to do it? Is it related to public health and safety? How much benefit is there? Is there a cost benefit? Is there an efficiency benefit? All of those kinds of things are the things that we look at. And when we do that, that's the ranking part. And as we're looking at all of those different categories.
Do you have specific criteria that the things you mentioned, safety and health and things, do you actually have a list of those things that you weigh when you come up with your 1 to 10 number?
No, I don't. We talk about those in more general terms. We're looking at that way, and we talk about them as a group. So it's not like we're all in our little silos, creating our own numbers. We talk about it as a group because that way we can share information. Different people on our board have different experiences, different professional experience, different town experience, and are able to speak to things in different ways. So we talk about that. Somebody may bring up something. Somebody may say, "Oh, that's not important," and somebody else can counter that with, "Well, it is because I think it is because of this." And so through those discussions, we come up with a shared ranking for what we think each of those categories are.
Okay, you said there, it's public safety, education, what was the third?
As the obligations, infrastructure.
Infrastructure.
Those are the things that go into whether or not it's our obligation as a government to do those things. That collectively is one of the 7 numbers that we've put in. So I think it's important that we all share our experience as a group to come up with that number collectively so that we're all in agreement with it before we move forward. And then after the fact, once we have all those priorities plugged in, we come back to our next meeting We evaluate the projects, we determine those with the highest need and propose a funding amount, and that's what goes into our budget recommendation.
The highest need is judged by the score, is that correct?
Not solely by the score. We will sort them by score order. There are some projects in town that are kind of perpetual. Reevaluation has to happen every 5 years. So some money goes into it every year so that at the 5th year, there's enough to do that. That's a mandate. We have to do that. Vehicles are something that are just, we constantly plug a little money into so that we can keep a rollover and nothing falls apart. So there are definitely projects like that that have that perpetual or they're very long-term. And then we also look too, when we finally come up with the projects that we're recommending, it's not just those that hit the highest priority. We also look to the others and whether they actually provide a benefit for the community and whether we think it's something the community has been asking for and looking for, or that might bring in money if we did it in a way that would help pay for itself, those kinds of things. So those are all things that we roll into our thought process when we come up with our recommendation.
And grants, we consider all of that.
Yep, we do. Right, if there's grant opportunities for things that if we don't fund it, we're going to lose a grant, that's something that we can weigh in. And then, of course, every year there's projects that go unfunded. And generally speaking, those projects don't go away because our departments aren't really giving us a lot of fluff projects. They're giving us things, at least the first 2/3 of the list, 3/4 of the list are things that are broken, that need fixing, or things that we're now mandated to do that we weren't before. So they're not really optional. They just couldn't make the cut with the funding that we had available. And so my personal editorial is that each year we're adding new projects and we're pushing existing projects to someday, and we're creating a backlog of real work. There's real infrastructure needs in the town that are not necessarily being met. And as that backlog grows, we're kind of setting ourselves up for some real heartache in the future. Because when you don't take care of your house, a $1,000 problem becomes a $3,000 problem eventually. So my note is that our town just isn't doing itself any favors by not handling the things that need to be handled. So that was the introduction I wanted to give. And then I guess we're ready to look at the chart. I don't know if you want to go through it project by project or if you want to just ask questions.
First, I do want to ask that question. I was asking, you answered it partially. You said that, and my question is the weighted value.
Mm-hmm.
And you said that going into the weighted value of public safety and education and infrastructure.
Yep.
But the weighted value is precise. It's to the, looks like the nearest 5.
There's math in there. So we put a number, so the government obligation is ranked 1 to 5. 5 meaning it's a high obligation, 1 meaning it's a low obligation.
What does that mean, Kathy? What's the difference between a high obligation and a low obligation?
It's opinion more than anything, but it's things like,
An example?
well, it's like if you've got a building, like a school building or a town building, it's our obligation to take care of that. That's a 5.
Or it's an ADA, say it's an ADA issue.
Or if it's an ADA issue.
Where that might come in faster than replacing a gym floor because it's just older and somebody would like to see it new.
Yep.
So we just rank them all, deciding on,
Wait, so in other words, if you have some repair, I guess, that would be needed to the school, then you'd subjectively decide whether it's a 1 ranking or a 5.
based on the overall
As a government
consensus.
obligation. But then there's all these other categories that we're
So
going to
that-
rank it at as well.
Well, so suppose I was on the committee and I'm, just for lack of a better one, I'm looking at the police vehicles. Well, actually, I probably should pick out it since we're talking about schools.
I was going to say, you should probably stay off the top half because those are the perpetual projects
Okay.
that we don't even bother
Okay.
to try to put a number to
All
because
right,
we just know
here's-
they have to be done.
Here's number 18 is Board of Education, Broadbrook Cafeteria tile replacement.
Correct.
Okay, so that has a weighted value of 693. And does each person on the capital planning get a vote or something, or?
Not so much a vote, we have a
We're trying to
discussion.
build a consensus.
Okay,
amongst
so,
the-
Yeah.
so
We
for
built a
this,
consensus, so for that particular one, as a government obligation, we called it a 3.
okay, so that's a 3.
So,
So now we have 690 more points to go, right?
well, the 3 plays into a math. I don't have the formula in front of me, I have the spreadsheet, but the spreadsheet takes, there's different, the other categories also have different weights. So everything has a different weight.
Okay,
So
so-
as government obligation, make it a 3,
Okay.
but government obligation as a category has more weight than, say, extent of benefit to community, or the department's personal priority for which project they
So-
want done first or last.
How many, you said you have 7 of these?
7.
Okay, well, what are they? You have
So so it is the government obligation, whether it's a mandate for compliance or statutory obligation,
Okay,
public health and safety.
What happens when it ends with a 0? Like 630?
well, that's just a total. Dan.
Yeah,
Just the
that's
total,
the
all the
sum
things
total
adding
of
up.
all of it. 630 was its final priority.
Then why does government have to be so difficult and so confusing? If you're putting these in a scale of 1 to 10, why the hell can't you just put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it is? Instead of putting these numbers in, 1,084. To me, I don't even know what the hell that means. I'm looking at weight value, I don't even know what that means.
Well, I'm trying to explain
Okay.
I
it.
know, but why don't you just use a single number, so it's
Because that
plain
doesn't give us an
and
impartial
simple?
view of what the project really is.
Yeah, but nobody in the public would understand what any of that means. If it was a number 10,
Well,
we'd say, okay.
You're right.
If it was a number 1, okay, that's top priority. We would understand that, very simple.
Well, you can see what's top priority based on what has the highest number.
And
Just
they are labeled
just a
1,
little
2,
bit
3.
more complicated than
Down the left
it has
side.
to be. That's what government is, I guess, complicated.
Well, I think it gives us the ability to be objective as we sit and talk about each project. We're not trying to say this project's better than that project, or more important than that project. We're judging each project independently. And then the math tells us who came out at the top of the list and who didn't.
Okay, so
So-
far I got,
You got the government obligation,
yeah,
mandates, compliance, and statutory obligations.
that's 1, that's 2, right?
That's the second one.
Yeah,
Then there's public health and safety.
yeah,
Then the department's personal priority, which one the department presenting it feels
Okay.
is their most important project, or where it falls in their
okay.
priority list.
Say that again, Kathy, what is that category?
Department priority? So what does the department feel, that this is their most important thing they need to get done? I mean, they are the ones trying to do this job, so we want to know what they think is the most important
And
to
the
them.
department would be either police. or-
Police or fire or
Public order.
public works or
Park and
town
rec.
property, park and rec, all of those. So the next one is the extent of the benefit to community. Whether it maintains or improves the standard of service.
Is that still part of the extent of?
Nope.
No,
That's a separate one.
and what was that again then?
Maintains or improves the standard of service.
Okay.
And whether it improves efficiency or creates a cost savings.
Okay.
So all of those things factor into where it ultimately lands in the priority
Okay,
list.
well, now I got 9 of them.
Well,
Well, that's okay, let me see what I got. and then you can-
okay, I'll
I got government mandates. And then I also have government obligations. Are they the same thing?
that's,
No.
there's 2. Government obligation is the public safety, public ed, and infrastructure.
Oh.
Now,
government-
those
what-
are the things that are government obligations.
Okay, all right. That could be why I have more than one.
That could be.
Okay, so now I have. Okay, now I'm missing one.
So the second one was mandates, compliance, and statutory obligations.
Oh, all right, I'll say what I got.
Okay.
So I got government mandates, then I have government obligations, department priorities, extent of benefit, maintain standards of service, efficiency and cost.
Right, you missed public health and safety.
I thought public health and safety
No,
was
it's-
part of
It can be
government.
different. So there's mandated safety, which is
Okay,
in the multiplier, and then
Okay.
there are other things that
So-
are part of, like sidewalks, may not be so much the mandated safety of a police department, but it's
Okay.
still a safety issue for our public.
okay, so it's safety.
So it's kind of a different version of
All right,
public health and safety.
in these 7, do you weight these 7 or,
We do.
okay, so what are the weights then?
Oh, there's a whole big formula.
Yeah, there is a whole big formula. You're not gonna be able to
Have
come up with the
different
numbers, right? So there's different rankings, so they're each gonna get a number within that category from 1 to 10. And then the weights for the different categories are different. You know, if it's a mandated,
Where did you get this formula from?
This is a formula that I found that was used pretty much across the nation in most large cities, bigger towns.
we stole their
So-
spreadsheet.
Yeah, well, hey,
And I'll tell you, I
no
think it's
sense to
awesome.
reinvent the wheel.
We had the same kind of thing in Canton,
Yeah.
but it's awesome, because it does take I want my project first.
Right.
Right,
Well,
you got
and that's-
9 people
It
sitting
becomes
together,
a
and everybody
completely
has their
impartial view,
specialty.
and
So we'll say,
where-
you know-
Where we were years ago, before Kathy and I got on, it was a room of 9 people arguing over a project.
yeah, and also, let me say, this chart is very good. I mean, we wouldn't be asking this question if it wasn't for this chart.
I know, and that's when someone
Yeah.
came up with this, and I think it started with, I think there was 12 different
There are,
criteria. And we didn't
there are
narrow it down
criteria
to
that we
some
just didn't bother, yeah. We narrowed it down to the ones that we felt were most important.
Okay, so,
But for any one category, I'll give you for instance, the PD and radio tower generator replacements.
what number is that?
That is number 12 in the original spreadsheet. I'm not sure if it's number 12 in your spreadsheet. Let me look.
It is.
It is, okay. So we said, is that a government obligation? It is, and we rated it a 5 as a government obligation because the PD can't
Okay.
communicate without that. And that, we thought, was pretty damn important.
Okay.
And then we said, is it a mandate, compliance, or a statutory obligation? And we rated it an 8. It's not a mandate per se, but our PD has to be able to talk. They can't fulfill their statutory obligations if they can't talk. So we rated it pretty high there.
Oh, I thought you said the range was from 1 to 5.
On the first
On the
category.
first
The other
one.
categories are from 1 to 10.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay, that's fine.
Public health and safety, again, in order for our police to be able to do their job, they need those radio towers. That was an 8. It was their first priority of something to fix, so it got a 10. Their department priority. The extent of the benefit to community, again, an 8, because we need that. Does it maintain or improve the standard of service? Absolutely, that was an 8. Does it improve efficiency and cost savings? Yes, that was an 8. It improves efficiency, because again, if they can't talk, they're going to be rather inefficient. So all of that rolled across, all the math happens, and it ended up with the 1770 as an overall score, which was pretty high in terms of the rest of the projects.
Okay. All right.
And to come up with those individual numbers, we kind of just started, said who wants to speak out, you know, where do you think this is? And then people threw their 2 cents in, and I think it should be higher, I think it should be lower. We came to agreement on a number.
Okay.
Since you talked about that radio tower thing, if there's generators included in that?
That's all it
Yeah,
is.
Yeah,
It's only generators. It has nothing to do with the communication that was brought to us the other night.
right.
it's the generators to keep the communications going.
Okay, so it's not...
It's not the radio tower itself.
No, okay.
Right, it's the generator on the PD and the radio tower.
Yeah, I think in a general sense, the rankings follow a numerical order. If you look at 9, it has a ranking of 633, but still in all, it is a 9th.
Well,
That's
the first-
because it's in that first
The
section.
first 9 are the every
The
year.
first 9 are the every year, with the exception of the Next Gen Solutions will come out of that group once it's paid for. But it is critical, we've signed that contract, we have to pay for that. So we've put it up there to make sure we covered the 3 annual payments that have to be covered out of SIP for that.
So there's really not a government mandate for town hall to replace their vehicle. There's really not, so if you looked at across the board, there's really not really high numbers associated with it driving the 633. But if we don't put something away each year, when the grant comes through for the senior bus, we don't have enough money put aside to then match it to buy a new senior bus.
Okay.
So those are every year contributions, the first 9 projects.
Right,
So the ranking really starts with number 10.
right. Those are the more annual projects. The
Okay.
top half is the perpetual projects, and then the rest of them are the ones that are, they may be multi-year projects, but they are single projects.
Well, okay, I hear what you're saying. Speaking of next gen though, aren't we asking for a transfer of money for next gen?
Well, that's tied to the IT help to get it installed. That has nothing to do with buying the product.
Okay.
This is 5 years
Yeah.
of buying into next gen.
3.
3.
It's a
For
3-year.
it was 38,000 or something like that.
The total project was about $37,000 a year for 3 years.
So no, that, the IT part
Yeah, I
is
hear what
money
you're
that we
saying.
didn't know we needed, wasn't part of this lease. This is really like the buy-in.
Yeah,
This is,
Right.
we made an
This
agreement
does
with
the-
them and we're paying for it over 3 years.
yeah, but
Yeah, that's just for the product itself.
Right, that is not the getting it installed and getting it up and running.
okay.
The request that I'm asking for a transfer for next week is to cover the cost associated with both Geosystems and the IT consultant to get it up and working, and talking to our GIS and working on our computers.
So, sticking with the next gen, how much of that have we put aside so far?
Well, we pay it every year, it's a payment.
So,
It's not,
And I
we're not
believe-
putting it away.
Right.
okay.
We make the payment as soon as it's approved.
So how
I
many-
believe this is the second of 3 payments that we're asking for this time. Does that sound right, Amy?
I don't think so, I was
Is
thinking
it the second or is it the last? I know it's not the
Let's see.
first.
payment 3 of 4.
Oh, yeah, I see,
3
okay.
or 4,
3 or
right,
4.
sorry, 4
Okay, it makes
payments.
sense.
So we have 1 more year that this will be in. So 20, so we paid 2 payments.
Yeah.
20 will be 3 and 21 will be 4.
Okay, good.
And that will totally finish the project's cost. And the total
And
cost
then
is
it will
actually
actually-
$173,000.
Right. And then it will come off this top half. It will just disappear off this list completely ultimately, once it's paid for.
But then doesn't have to go back in that same category at some point in time? Isn't there a need to do it again?
Nope.
Well, not
There will
until,
be an IT cost every year for, when we talked in IT, we talked about software licensing. We continue to need to license it every year. So we're going to pay Next Gen every year, but that will be part of the operating budget.
right.
Software you shouldn't have to buy more than once. Hopefully.
Well, until you do. Until it becomes so obsolete that you do.
But yes.
We all know that
5 years.
periodically companies stop supporting software for whatever reason, and you gotta kind of start from scratch.
I got a question. I'm still thinking about this radio tower generator.
Okay.
The blue number here, the blue column is what you guys are recommending, right?
Correct.
Okay, but then over here it says requested 97,000.
That's what they asked us for,
Who asked for that?
the PD,
No.
no, town property.
So Lenny did.
Lenny asked
And
for it.
that's actually, the 97 is 2. 1 for the PD and 1 for the tower.
Yes.
So it's
So
actually
that
2
was my next
generators.
question. You're telling me we got 2 generators down there?
Yes.
That one generator can't run the police department and the tower?
No.
No, because they're in separate locations, is my understanding. They're not together.
They're when we need
They're not
it.
in the same place.
Where's the tower?
Tower's here.
Isn't it up here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one that's sitting outside here, that big tall one, that's the tower?
Always was.
So our generator that runs this
Here.
place can't run that tower?
Yeah, it
I don't
would.
know.
I'm sure it would.
I mean, he's got its own private
No,
generator, is that what you're telling
There's
me?
a tower over by the water tower.
I know, they
Yeah, I
tell
think
us the
there is,
location.
yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
So
it's
I
probably
believe-
in the
I believe
book
that's
somewhere as to
location
where it
that we're
is.
discussing is not this tower here. It's the tower by the water tower.
Prospect Hill,
Yeah.
up on top there?
So they wanted two generators replaced. They wanted 97. We said, what's the split? If we have to do it over 2 years, and they said 50 would get us the first one, and the
Which was
47
the
should
worst
get us
one.
the second one, the oldest one, the one that they're having the most trouble with.
Okay.
So we
So we
split it. So
split it.
actually, we'll see it again next year for the other half.
Yes.
Didn't realize the tower was way off somewhere else, that it couldn't be run off the building generator, you know?
Nope.
No.
Okay.
And it was Lenny who asked for them.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
How about number 3, Public Works, just annual maintenance? We have $500,000 there.
Yeah, unfortunately Lenny never gets what he asks for pavement management.
Okay, but why does it say total project cost $1 million?
Because these are, you
Because
can't,
that's
I
what
can't
he
add
asked
up
for.
what it's gonna be every year for the rest of eternity. So that's why these top 9 are a little different in that this is the total project cost for this year, or in the case of Next Gen, overall.
So he asked for $1 million
Yeah,
for just 1 year.
sure.
And considering our whole budget last year was less than $1 million, we said, well, that's not reasonable.
We can't give you $1 million, or we can't do anything else.
Right.
Right.
So
Okay.
we did 500 of it, that's what's in blue.
Yeah.
But his ask was for $1 million.
Okay.
So how many miles of paving does that include?
It depends, if it's a road that needs to be
Yeah.
torn all down to the bottom, it could be a very short road.
Yeah.
It's, you know,
What's a short
unfortunately, it's
road?
very expensive for,
I know.
for tearing down to nothing and starting all over again.
Again, I don't know what it costs per foot to do any of the different things. I mean, some of it is just recovering roads with, you know, a layer of
Shimming them.
whatever. Yeah, I'm not a road person, so I don't have all the language, but,
I mean, it'd be helpful to know that are we really putting enough money into?
we're not
We're not.
putting enough money into it. And
We
if you
most
go back to
certainly
the
are not putting
letter,
enough money in our,
Lenny has a plan, a detailed map actually, of what
Right.
roads need paving,
No, I
and to
know,
what
but-
extent they need.
But I wanted to know what would be the estimate of what $500,000 would cover.
again,
like
it
I said, it
depends.
depends how
Depends how
rough.
bad the road is.
Right, it depends how rough the road is, how much, you can pave a road that's in decent shape can be skimmed and not cost a fortune and maintain it longer than a road that's
That's
completely
already gone to
trashed.
hell, yeah.
I understand all that.
I mean, you
But-
got that book for the capital, so you should have this
So
whole
here's
plan
the
in there.
map of
The
the
condition.
condition of the
Yeah.
roads.
So
And
which
the
one-
big long list of,
So if we said, you know, this one, and this one, we'll get, I can use 500,000, no.
we don't do it like that.
I know you don't, but he must, in order to come up with a number, rather than waking up in the morning, let's throw up $1 million, you know? I mean, there's gotta be.
Well, what he really needs is multi-million dollars, so it's really not hard
I
for him to
understand
say
that.
$1 million.
All I wanna know is, how much space will $500,000 cover?
And there's no
I
single
don't think there's
answer
an
to that.
answer that-
Because he's gonna make up his, once he gets the money he gets, he's gonna decide how best to use that,
I
given the
understand.
status of the roads at the time that he gets the money. So he can't even specifically say to us, I wanna do this road, and this road. Those 3 are my priority, because depending upon what he gets for money, that may not be the 3 roads that
You know,
get done.
Charlie, he actually used some of his money this past year to get this parking lot out here done right.
Yeah, I understand.
Because they didn't want to foot the whole bills.
Yeah.
They wanted to only patch certain areas where it would have been a crap job. So he took some of his money and he kicked it in to get the job done right. Now up here it says where chip sealing roads are, 75,000.
Yeah.
That comes back to us.
Okay, that comes
from the-
back to us from the
Right.
state, so that would, if that was paid for to get the job done, then you're reimbursed by the state.
Yeah,
Then he could take that 75 and stuff it with the $500,000.
yeah.
Which he does.
So
That's
that's
what he
right,
does.
so it's adding it to his
But if we don't
till.
allocate that 75, then we don't get the payback.
Well, it'd be kind of stupid when the state's gonna pay us to do it for
Exactly.
nothing.
Which is why it's there every year.
All right, so then he's got 575,000 now to play with the roads.
Yep.
Right, and if you go back to the letter that I sent you guys, the second to the last paragraph talks about road maintenance. And we spent quite a bit of time talking about it. And whether we could, how we could get caught up on our road maintenance so that Lenny could have a better plan. Because right now, he's basically chasing down the worst thing that he has to at any given time. And we favored looking at funding a significant sum through bonding. Obviously, he's only got so many guys who can work. So you can't fix everything in 1 year because he physically doesn't have enough people to get it done. But to perhaps do some bonding of some funds over a few years with a work plan that he would develop.
But the roads, the highway department doesn't play any part in that. The company that they hired to do it, they do everything.
That's not true,
No, we
Charlie.
do a lot of our.
They do a lot of the catch basin work and all the other
But
work.
I'm talking about road resurfacing. That's
Yeah,
what
but
I'm
it's
talking about.
part
When
of
they
that.
do road resurfacing, they usually
You're
get
doing other things
catch
too.
basins.
They don't use the highway department in any part of, when they're doing the chip sealing or the road resurfacing.
No,
They
let's-
have one guy that is, blocking traffic and that's it.
What they do, Charlie, in the end, after it's chip sealed, they do go out and they sweep the road, and they bring the chip seal, the loose stuff, and they bring it back to the town garage.
Charlie, were you at their
That part they do.
presentation?
They do
Were you
that.
at the DPW presentation? Because we talked about this. Like, he has roads he wants to do, but he needs drainage money first. So he needs to go out and fix some drainage on, I want to say Wells
That is what.
and Wapping and something else. So he
Right.
talked about that the money in the general fund that he's asking for, which is also an increase, is just going to be them fixing the drainage before they pay somebody to pave it.
Because you don't want to be digging stuff up when you've just paved a road.
I get that, because it's
So-
been done in a lot of places like that.
Yeah, so I mean, you're right, there are probably places where all we need to do is pay somebody to come,
But even
put that
those-
top level on. But there's other places where they've got to get in there and do stuff too.
But even in those places, they've hired outside contractors. I've signed the bills.
Perhaps they have, but it depends on the cost and the times.
Holden Construction, Coda Construction.
Yeah, but he also does a lot of the engineering of how it's going to happen, what's going to happen.
No, we're talking about people. who
No,
said
but
that they
Len
can't-
himself.
They can't use the people because they're busy doing that.
Well,
Like I said, I know
No,
they
but
hire those people.
what I would say is, just recently, last year or the year before, we did a bonding for roads, and I think it was $1.7 million we spent on roads. And there is a bottleneck there in the sense that, and I believe it's that Lenny has to make sure that everything's done correctly, oversee what the people are doing. So you can't just have the whole town hire a bunch of people to do roads. They have to do 1 or 2 roads at a time. They have to control the situation. So they don't do them all at once.
I know that.
Okay.
Let me
But it's
explain.
not people.
Let me explain something to you, Charlie.
Yeah,
Or
it's
one of his
person
designations.
or Lenny and Joe, yeah.
In South Windsor, okay, I work for them. They do have a crew that goes out and their guys do the drains and
That's
the
right.
catch basins, right.
That's right.
How many guys do we have working in our town highway department? 6, I
I think
believe.
there's 11. Is there?
No, I don't think there's 11, not the highway guys. You go to South Windsor's garage, and you've got 30 men working down there. So they have a crew of 3 or 4 that go out and do catch
I
basins
think we're
and
missing
things
the
like
whole
that.
point I was making, is that,
Well, I'm making a point that we'd have to hire a shitload more people
no, but
to be able to do all this extra
the
work.
point is, we're not utilizing those guys, any part of the resurfacing, the chip sealing, or the drainage of putting in the storm drains or fixing the storm drains, because I've signed the bills for those.
Yeah, but They might be
Yeah,
doing
but
something else,
that doesn't
Charlie.
mean that-
Catch basins and
Yeah.
culverts.
They are doing work
They don't
in
do
there
all
as
of
well.
it.
They don't do all of it. That's not to say that some piece of it doesn't get done by Lenny's crew while there's another piece getting done by a contractor. Just because there's been contractor bills doesn't mean Lenny's crews aren't involved at all.
You're sure of that?
I'm 100% sure of that.
There may be times where Lenny's crews,
This was a question before. It breaks down by mileage and the repair category. So we have 31 miles that are do nothing, they're in good shape. 17 miles need preventative maintenance at 500,000. 10 miles need structural improvement at 3 million. And 12 miles need base rehabilitation, which I assume is the whole thing. And that's 10.5 million. So he
So we're
does have
looking
the
at about
breakdown.
$14 million worth of, to
Yeah.
clean 70 miles
Yeah,
worth of
That's
roads.
why I'm concerned that, what do we
So-
get for 500?
It's a
Well, not
start.
enough, but it's all we have at
Something.
this point, right.
At least
I mean,
something.
if you want to give us $3 million in CIP, we'll be happy to give Lenny more money. I mean, that's,
That's kind of silly to say that.
But-
What it is that I was just wanting to know, for 500,000, what can we fix? How many miles of road or mile of road,
And
based
there's-
upon his priority? This road's terrible, we gotta tear it up, okay, that's 2 miles. This one, just curious as to what it is.
That's probably a question for Lenny.
that is definitely what
Probably
it
is.
You
is.
give him a number that he can work with, say 500 or whatever, and then he can just plan it.
So when we talked to Lenny, we asked him to begin looking at what it would take and how he could structure
Yeah, but.
this catch-up work.
I'm
For
thinking
bonding.
if you've got, oh, well, that's.
For bonding, we're saying, if we could give you, if we could get some money bonded, because we know we're not gonna get it in CIP. If we were gonna get some money bonded over a period of a few years, and I don't know, I'm saying 3, I don't know, maybe it's 10, maybe it's 2, I don't know. That's for Lenny to
I'll tell you how it
decide.
works. The bonding gets approved, it's X dollars, and then you sell it in 2 kinds. Because you can only do 18 months. All your money has to be spent in 18 months.
So he has to be
95%
able
of
to
it.
do the
So he has to
work.
be able to do the work in 18 months. So you have to schedule it so it comes into 2 seasons. So he's got 2 summers within that 18 months. And then the next one you do 2 years, and then you do it for the same schedule, so then the next 18 months you can get the rest of it done. That's what we did in Canton, and it worked very well.
Yeah, that's
So
what I
we
think
did
we
it
should
in-
do.
$1 million split over 2 bonding to get
Right.
some of it, but we still have a list like that. If you went to Canton,
Sure.
they would show you the exact same kind of list, that we have roads that are 2 miles long and need totally trashing, so it's gonna be $2 or $3 million for
I
one
understand
road.
all of that, I'm not questioning that.
Yeah.
All I'm asking is,
And I
how
told
much
you,
are
we don't
gonna get?
have a
Okay,
specific
you
list of
don't-
roads.
Okay, you don't
We don't have that.
He's not gonna get a lot done for $500,000.
That's what I'm thinking, so,
No,
you know,
that's
what's
100% true.
the other path is to bond it,
Right.
to actually start fixing these roads. 'cause
And we
they're-
did do
they're in
that. We did
terrible shape.
2.7 million a couple years ago, and it was
Yeah.
the dam and roads together.
But the
so-
dam was,
500,000 of it?
yeah, a little
Of the
bit more,
2.7, I think?
Yeah, a little bit
So it
more.
was a couple $1 million,
Yeah.
but when you have a $14 million problem, a couple $1 million doesn't go very far.
No.
Right.
And I think, though, I'd like to say that what this money, capital improvement, is coming out of the budget for this year. So that's a tax increase for this year's the expenditure. And if instead of saying, gee, you can't get a lot done for $500,000, why don't we bond for 2 or?
Well,
couple-
except that
then-
this 500 might get him the drainage work he needs to do, so then when we bond, he's got the
He's got
money
to
to
work
get the
that
road
project
fixed.
out, right. So what we did, I'll go back to this, again, we've asked him to begin looking at it, determining how the project could be structured, as well as a rough estimate for the cost to bring more of our roads out of disrepair and put us back on a normal maintenance schedule. And this could end our current predicament of always playing catch-up. So that's what we talked about with Lenny. We have not met since, so we certainly have not met with Lenny. As a committee, we have not met. So I'm sure Lenny's looking at that. And if the board was open to that process, I'm sure that that conversation can happen. But really, that's not CIP's purview. It's our suggestion to you that that's how it moved forward.
We're trying to understand
Yep.
what your suggestion is. And
And that's,
I think it should go to, like you say, drainage.
right, well, and as I said, we envisioned that to allow enough time for the work to be done, this would likely spread across multiple years with bonding done in phases, because I didn't know exactly how bonding's done.
But it helps to have money in there, especially if something comes up. A road washes out that you don't expect, and the CIP money doesn't go away. If this 500 isn't enough for a whole project, it can stay in there and get added to next year's 500 to then get him the $1 million that he needs for XYZ road. Or it can be used for the starting.
Is there anything part now from
Um,
before?
I don't know if I brought it, but I did send you guys
Oh, so-
Yeah,
the
I have
CIP
it.
schedule that showed what was left right now. Oh, if I stuck it in here. I be surprised if I didn't, but it might be in my CIP book. You also can see it on your
Roads
CNR.
right now has, as of 1/31/19, is that the line I
Yep.
want to use, CNR roads?
Yep,
About $1 million, just under $1 million, $959,000 in there.
And what
So you still got $1 million you can play with to fix roads.
So he's, yeah.
well,
And
that
he
would be
just
all his
keeps
spring
working.
projects, right?
Yep, that's all his spring projects.
All right, so then he would have $1 million, almost $600,000 with this here.
You have
Yes.
$1.5 million.
Well,
that's
the
75.
other 75, then he
Well,
gets
the other
money
7,
back.
yeah, so he'll have
He has $1 million left, unused?
960,000, roughly.
Okay.
Well, and that was at what time?
That was on January 31st.
So that should be pretty clean,
Yeah.
because he wouldn't have been doing any roads since.
Are there other monies parked that pertains to any of this other stuff?
Yes, he has road money in your operating budget. I don't know what he has left.
But I mean CIP money. Is there other CIP money that's parked that hasn't been used?
Oh, sure, there's a
For
ton
other-
of it.
For
Yeah.
other stuff that's in here?
No, not for things that are in there.
Well,
Not-
yeah.
Not the things
So like
that,
police vehicles has an account that always has money in it.
right,
And
but we're
as-
always adding to it.
Right, we add to it and then they buy a car.
And then they buy out, right.
So there, yes, there's all kinds of CIP. In the regular monthly Board of Finance reports that you guys get, that CNR tells you exactly what's left in every single account.
Okay.
Doesn't
Each
mean it's not
project-
spoken for
Right, it's all
something.
spoken for.
It's all spoken for, which is how it got there in the first place, but,
But it, by project, has what the balance is in all those accounts. What the current allocation was, and what they've spent so far this year, and what's left.
You know what the summary is offhand? Top of your
The
head?
total?
Yeah.
It's 2.6 million right now.
Sitting.
Yep. Well, no, working as they're working through what needs to happen.
as they're
with
working
whatever
capital
that
for all the
project is
different departments.
to get it spent. You know, all of it takes time,
Yes.
preparation,
No, I know.
research, so
I
yeah.
get all that.
There's nothing not spoken for, but yes, there's $2.6 million in capital right now. Which includes the 883 that was sent over this year in July. Part of the operating budget last year had $883,000,
Yep.
which was sent over there in July.
Well, do you want to go through them individually? You said one.
Up to you guys, if you have questions, if you want to walk through them individually, I mean, I tried to provide more in the project description information
You
column
did, yeah, I
there,
appreciate that.
to give you guys more background about what we talked about. But if there's questions to any of it, or if you want to walk through them individually, that's your call.
Actually, I'm reading them, it makes a lot of sense to me.
You know, the police vehicles, their cost for a vehicle has gone up. So they always, in my first days on CIP, they were still doing 3 vehicles, trying to fund 3 vehicles one year, 2 vehicles the next year, 3 vehicles, 2 vehicles. And invariably, they'd fall behind because they'd say, well, we can't give you 3 full vehicles, so we're not going to give you that much, we're going to give you 2 again. And so they were falling behind. And so what we have done the last few years is say 2.5 vehicles a year. The money doesn't go away, so let's just even fund it, so it's something we can count on. But unfortunately, the costs have gone up of those vehicles because Ford's not making the, what is it, the Interceptor? And it's more of an SUV type vehicle, and it also is going to require that the things that they put in the vehicle have to
And there's
be.
been changes to the 2020
So the cost of the vehicle is 40,000?
complete. I think it's 38 and change.
I was going to say 38.6, I think, is the amount they used for the SUV and the grant for the K9 unit.
Yeah.
So that 38
And
would
did that
be the
include all
price.
the interior stuff as well?
I
Yeah,
don't-
it was
I don't think so.
I don't remember off the top of my head, because it's been months and I couldn't
I wanna say it
memorize all
was-
of this.
It was under 40. I want
Yeah.
to say it was 38 and change,
Yeah.
complete.
There's another $24,000 to put, well, you want to replace the laptops, I guess.
Yes, that's a separate project.
6 to 13 cruisers.
Yes, that was a separate project.
And that's funded over more than 1 year, too,
Right. We were looking to try to
to get some of
do
them.
some of them this year and more. I think we figured 2 or 3 years to get them all done.
I'm trying to understand the math there, that.
Which
you-
one?
On the, because you brought up the laptop, yeah, the
Oh, the
laptops.
laptops. Which
Okay.
number is that?
13. And if, for 6, if you do the math to the 2370, comes out to 3285 a laptop.
Yep, that's the
That's
tough
about
books.
right, yeah.
Yep,
Pretty expensive
That's-
laptop.
They are.
yep. Those are those tough books that they buy.
Yeah. So the number comes to 19,714 for those, and they have 2370.
I think what we did is we just split the total in half, no?
I don't know, because the project total then,
So not quite.
based upon the 3285, comes to 42,705.
I'm stretching my memory because we're going back
I
to
know,
October.
I was thinking 3,500 is what I was thinking, but I'm not so sure that that works as the math either. Take 23,070.
Yeah, I've got some stuff here from their request, so let me see what I can dig out of this.
It's like $7,200 more in the total cost.
There are 12 or 13 cars that need to be done. They are, oh, I've got the price sheet right here. So $32.95 for the tablet, $550 extra for the keyboards that they need. So that is more than that. So for 6 each, we have the invoice right here, 23,070.
Oh, now we know where the price came from.
That's where the price came from, right
How
there,
much are the keyboards?
$550. You gotta remember, this is, you're looking at something that's
These
gotta
are,
get through
these
the
are the top
vehicles.
books, which
Yeah,
are-
these are not your household
No,
computer.
I know about them, but why do they have to get a separate keyboard?
They're actually separate, so the
Right.
screen and keyboard separate from.
The tablet
so
itself.
you can use it as a touchscene.
So they can
but
take the
typically-
tablet and take it off to,
Typically, the keyboard stays in the vehicle, because that's a more fragile part of it. So the keyboard typically stays in the vehicle, the book itself, you can take it off.
so if they go out to a call, they can take the book, the tablet part of it with them. Keyboard stays
Do they
in.
ever do that?
But, well,
Quite often, every day.
it will be infinitely, when we spoke with them, the efficiency for them is great, is much greater, because they're not taking notes and then going back and plugging things into the computer. They can be doing things right there, in the moment, and typing things in, and looking things up, and
And there
interacting.
again, we're replacing existing equipment. We have tough books now.
Right. And they're 10 years old. You got your money's worth out of them. They're over 10 years old, I think it said. So, I don't know about your computers, but mine don't last 10 years. I'm not doing anything near what they're doing.
Question here with this, Public Works again,
Which number?
number 21. I thought the WPCA was in charge of the sewers. Why is
They
the
do
town?
not own that
The
South Road
good news
mess.
is, we own South Road and all the headaches that go with it.
That whole South Road mess is yours.
But
So,
it says in they're gonna
If
So-
we fix
transfer it
it,
over to PCA.
WPCA has said if we fix it, they will then own it.
And then
We want it-
they'll charge the people.
I don't care what they do after that. All I know is it won't be ours, it won't be our headache anymore after that. So WPCA said if we fixed it, they will take it over. So we're looking to fix it. Get it out of Lenny's hair.
And it's deteriorating, so
It is deteriorating.
actually, it's not, it's a pipe, it's, what are they called? Clay pipes that are put
Clay
together.
pipes, yeah.
Lenny
So
gave us
roots
a
are
bunch of
growing into it.
pictures.
Around all the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lenny
So
gave us a bunch of
there's a
pictures,
maintenance
it's not
cost,
pretty.
just to.
so the deal was, it was a private sewer when it was built,
Yeah,
because the feds built it.
yeah,
So they built their own private sewer.
yeah.
So that's why when we inherited through the tax sale, all those properties, we inherited their private sewer with it.
Yeah.
So,
So,
It went 14K this year. Last year, it was stated that it could be done for 80K.
I don't know about that.
Well,
to replace the
I think it
whole
was a higher
thing,
number at some point.
to replace the whole thing is 270,000.
Yeah, and they were gonna line it though, instead of replacing the whole thing,
Right.
apparently they can put a liner down that.
They
that
can,
would-
they can do repairs.
Well,
And-
I think that makes it almost like replacing it, it's pretty
Yeah,
It'll last a long time if they put a
Well,
liner in.
that was the way it was presented. Again, I'm not a sewer expert, so I trust Lenny to tell me how to do that. But he said for 94,000, he could fix it, and we could pass it off to the WPCA.
Then after that, they'd be in charge of all the maintenance.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the way it was last year, Steve.
That whole thing is just a nightmare to begin with. And
Yep.
I don't even know if there's some way we can get out of that whole thing, you know.
Well,
That's a
subject
whole
for
nother-
another day.
that's a whole nother-
That's a subject for another day.
That's not CIP.
That's not on our agenda tonight.
Part of that is also is that, I know Lenny said that he could do it, but I also, you know, there was somebody from WPCA that said, you know, unless we authorize who's gonna do it, then, you know, we're not guaranteeing anything over there.
Right.
So,
And
Because it-
WPCA,
because it wasn't theirs.
My understanding anyway, they've used many vendors and they have a preferred set of vendors that they've used that they've had better luck with than other vendors.
Yeah.
So I would trust their judgment and probably what's not my purview at all. So-
Right, and Lenny was talking to
Just
them,
relaying
so I'm sure
information.
they figured out.
And I also think that was their
I
number.
think Lenny thought, I think initially he
Thank
was
you, I
gonna do
think
it
you're right,
himself.
Tom. I
That
didn't
was their
remember that.
number.
I think that was the
Initially,
He
WPCA
wouldn't have done
number.
that himself. He's not qualified to do that.
No, I didn't
himself.
think so, but, you know.
No, he's having discussions with people about what
Yeah.
that would be, yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's good.
And the poor dog pound.
Yeah, the dog pound is just a mess.
So we're
And,
gonna replace the inside and outside kennels.
So the thing with the dog pound is we're gonna start getting ourselves into some trouble with that pretty soon because the inspector keeps coming and he's really unhappy with it. And so we thought that if we could at least do some work and show him that we're starting to make some progress with that, we can avoid getting ourselves into our own doghouse,
Well,
any further into our own doghouse.
I mentioned at another meeting that I want to get some information to see if we can't participate in the regional dog center in South Windsor, because that would be the ideal solution for us. It's closer than Manchester and Glastonbury, who are part of that,
And that'd be great.
Yeah, yeah.
And that'd be fine.
You know where it is.
Again, that's, it's outside our,
yeah, I know that.
we're looking at, this is what it would take to do this.
Yeah, I'm going to look into that the next couple of days.
I know we tried at one point to get together with Summers.
Couple different places.
I remember Summers, I remember the Summers one being very public. It was a long time ago. It fell flat
I
on its
think there was
face.
a lot of concern of bringing other people's dogs to our dog pound.
I think it was no, because we would have, I think, been using their dog pound, if I remember correctly, with Summers. Again, a long time ago.
And they objected to that?
I don't know whether it went to a vote for their town and the town voted it down. I don't know how it fell apart. All I know is it completely fell apart. I wasn't
So
involved
what
in this
would-
end of stuff as much.
I mean, I wonder what the cost would even be.
Well,
I
that's what I'm
mean,
going to find out.
you send our dog to Windsor Locks, for God's sake. Now the person that caught the dog in Broadbrook, they're gonna be out there running all over the place carrying this dog to Windsor Locks and coming back and,
What do you think, you have to get shots in the bees to go to Windsor Locks?
you know.
Huh?
The way the government's being run, it'll probably end up that way.
I'd have to pay a toll.
Yeah,
Yeah, you probably at least have to do that, Charlie. At least have to pay a toll to go across the bridge.
yep.
I'll look into that, yeah, maybe tomorrow.
And, and again, I guess one of the things I didn't say up front is when we come up with this recommended list, this is what we know back in the fall. A lot changes between then and when we have an approved budget. For instance, I know there's at least one thing on here, I want to say it was at Scout Hall, the HVAC replacement. He died, he's been replaced. One of them, I think I want to say,
Yeah, one of the units.
yeah, I think
And
we
where
put
did that
one
money
of
come from?
It was
The
half
town
town,
Half
half
town,
town,
half
half Scout Hall, and you're gonna see that we're looking to replace the town portion through a transfer at your next board meeting.
So the Scout Hall shouldn't even been on here.
Well, it was.
Well, it's a town building.
Things
It
changed.
is, because it's a
Yeah,
town
but
building
but
and it's at
we
30,000.
fixed it. didn't we? We
Well,
fixed
but
that whole deal.
it wasn't
Fixed it
there
after
It
that.
didn't break.
after this.
It didn't break until we turned the heat on.
After this. It happened after we created
Which
this
is
list.
true.
This is why I say, you know, like last year, the Board of Ed got some grants for being an alliance district. So all of their projects that we had proposed funding for got crossed off, and we moved them to other projects that needed to be done almost as badly. They didn't rate quite as high, so I won't say as badly, but there were other projects that got that money. Plus, we didn't get as much money as we wanted, and that helped us meet that gap because we didn't have
Did
some
we
things
see
to
those
pay for.
changes?
Yeah.
Which changes? The changes at the
The ones you
school?
said you moved to?
Well, it's
Well,
not
yeah.
a transfer, it's when they meet in the
Right.
tail end of June or beginning of July, their first meeting of the year.
Yeah.
They
So-
reallocate, you tell them that they're gonna have $1 million. So they've asked for 1.6 million really, because the $94,000 for the leases for town hall, HVAC, and DPW trucks need to be added to it, and that's $94,000. So they got 883 last year, not counting the leases. And when you guys give them that number, they meet at the beginning of the year and figure out how it's gonna be spent. They
Right.
use this as a priority, but if things have changed, that can be taken into account and moved to somewhere else within this priority list. There's not plenty of projects on this list that aren't looking for funding that we didn't even fund, or
Right.
only funded partially, like the dog pound's a good example.
And maybe my question wasn't clear. If, what you said that the Board of Ed got grant money for certain things, so you scratched off on the list what they're.
On CIP.
On the CIP, what they put in for. So the money that they put in for that they didn't need now because they had that, where does that money go?
Well,
That was
specifically,
distributed
it
in
probably, it was either some of it was distributed or it was used to make up the difference between the 1.131 million we asked for and the 883 we got. So we didn't get enough to fund everything anyway, so some things had to be taken off the list. So the
Yeah.
first thing we did was cross off the things we no longer needed to pay for.
So any extra
So my
money-
guess is that we spent the 883 on what was left on the spreadsheet. Do we specifically earmark and say, well, the 15,000 we didn't need for Board of Ed is gonna go to this specific project? No. We have 883, guys. Where do we wanna go with this? What's most important to get done for 883? These are the things we recommended. Are they all still on the table? And how much do we wanna give to each of them? And we go until we hit 883. And then we stop. So I'm not transferring from one line to another per
Okay,
se.
I guess my question is, I know you're the advisory board for this, but it's up to us as a Board of Selectmen to decide where these funds are gonna go, who's gonna get what money.
Well, that's never been how it's been done in the past. It's always been
No,
done,
it's you
it's always been
guys,
done by
I
the
think you guys
CIP
decide
committee.
the dollar amount and then they allocate the money.
Well, no, actually,
No.
if you read the charter, you guys are advisory to us. But we,
Well, yeah, we're
Yeah.
advisory in that we ask for a set of, an amount of money.
but that, you know.
I don't think the
you're doing a
charter
good
spells
job.
out who
Yeah.
should do it. I think it's always come back to the CIP committee because they're the most familiar with the projects. They've
Well,
been
I
through all
think
those
It's
discussions.
the Board of Selectmen that has the responsibility to decide what projects. You advise us based upon all your interviews and what you have, this is what you're recommending, but it's up to us to make those decisions now.
Yeah, well, the question wasn't really answered. When they got the grants, they had money. They got grants to fix things. Now the
They
money-
never had that money. That money was
No, no,
never
let me-
actually
Let me
given.
finish, please. Let me finish. It's very simple. So the extra money that they had, after they got the grants, you said you rerouted that money to do other things. So now I want to know, that extra money only goes to fixing things, correct? In the school
100%.
system.
Well,
No,
it doesn't
no,
even go
no,
to the
The
school.
money didn't go to the school.
school at all.
Didn't go to the school at all.
They went back to the project.
It went back to other projects. Or it went to
The cut.
the cut. It went to, I think all of the school stuff went to the cut,
I mean,
because
we
they
had
didn't have that much.
$300,000 cut.
Yeah,
But we didn't know.
So you didn't use the money
None at all. It went
to go and keep fixing things at the school system?
no,
No.
they used
No,
their
used
grant money.
instead.
They used the grant money instead.
All right, so then that extra money that was left over, you sent off to other departments here to be used
We
elsewhere?
would have,
Go back
had there
to
been
last
enough,
year's.
but if we go back to, I don't have last year's
I
stuff with
don't get
me.
what you're saying.
It was 1.1 million that we asked for.
Yeah,
You gave us 883.
yeah.
The Board of Ed projects did not total the difference between those two numbers. So we had to cut the difference between 1.1 and 883 of projects that we had recommended funding for. Since the Board of Ed had received grant money to do those projects, they were very easy. We crossed those off the list and said, well, there's the 2 or 3 projects, let's pull those out. Now we only have to cut this much more. So in this particular case, we didn't actually end up giving that money, I don't believe, to any other project, because the Board of Ed wasn't going to get enough to make up that shortfall.
Right, so they ate it up fixing things at the school.
No, they didn't get it, period. They didn't get it. They didn't get any
No
money.
CIP monies went to the Board of Ed at all.
All CIP is spent out of the town. If the Board of Ed has a bill that needs to be paid out of CIP, they send it to the town, and we pay the bill.
So
CIP
last year
money
they got
never
nothing
goes.
because they got the grants from the state instead. And they
CIP
said,
money
we
never
got our
goes."
money, let the other town departments have it.
So when the budget was passed, that money was never there for them to have?
Right.
Correct.
Like
we
you were
showed it.
saying, that money sits in a pot
It does.
After
for
it's
them
been
to
allocated.
keep using it.
After it's been allocated. But they didn't have enough money to allocate. They asked for 1.1 million, they got 883. So that $300,000 shortfall has to be taken away from somebody. So right now, we're asking for 1.5, which is double the 88 we got, 883 we got last year.
Yes, we're asking for 1.5.
So if you guys only give them 883, $700,000 of projects have to come off this list.
Probably the bottom ones on the bottom.
Hopefully not,
Well-
because mine's on the bottom.
Actually, we didn't resort after we fixed your number, so you're actually not on the utter bottom. So, all in all, the Board of Ed projects last year, the money that we were asking for the Board of Ed, that money was not spent at the Board of Ed or on any other project. It just wasn't spent because we didn't get enough
I
as
had
a
in my
CIP
notes,
committee.
number 10, I had my notes that I looked back from last year, and I thought they had that in there last year.
No, not the kitchen steam boiler.
That just broke this year.
I think you may be thinking about the,
They did do
Where
some
is
kitchen
this?
work through the Alliance
they
stuff.
did do some kitchen work through the Alliance stuff, but I think there was an actual,
Was it the boiler?
the boiler.
I was gonna say,
Yeah,
I'm
the
thinking of
furnace boiler.
chimney.
Yeah,
Like a
furnace.
Yeah.
chimney.
No, this is for the
They did-
cafeteria.
Yeah, well, this is
This was-
a steam
no.
boiler that they actually cook food in.
Right, that's what my note had.
Yeah, no, we did
That
not,
was in there last year.
no, definitely not. Because that was new this year,
Okay.
because they've been having a lot of issues with it, and they've been told at some point it will become unfixable. They have had to do without it for short periods of time this year, bring food in from other schools or not make certain kinds of food. I have information I can share on that if you're looking for more specific information.
So now I would say that if there's anybody who has a particular project here that they want to get more information about, we should focus on that. I'm kind of satisfied with the information I do
There are a
have.
couple things that I want to bring to your attention.
Sure.
One of them is the treasurer's request for the financial software. We found out, did I print the date? On 2/26. So maybe a couple days before that, I printed it on 2/26. The school was notified that the Phoenix software that we use is no longer going to be supported and maintained effective July 1, 2020. So when we put in when the CIP budgeted for the replacement of the town financial software with Munis, we put in the full amount that would also cover the Board of Ed, switching to Munis as well, which obviously makes the two departments work much easier together. We don't have two separate systems kind of fighting each other. So the Board of Ed piece at that time was sort of optional, but we felt that it was important to keep the two together, and so we put in the full amount. Now it's more important because in another year, we're not going to have support for the software that we're using at the school.
So the
so-
total amount's
The
124,000?
124 and change.
Yeah, number 14.
The
Okay.
town share was only 105,
Mhm.
so it's very minimal to add the Board of Ed to it.
system on.
So we all felt that that was a good, cost-effective way to gain efficiency between the two departments. And now that they're not going to be maintaining that software anymore, that is going to have to be replaced, regardless of whether you want to buy Munis or not.
So the 124 then covers both the Department of Education as well as the.
Yes, and if I recall, Amy, without digging out the paperwork, that was included in that price was the transfer of our existing data into the system and some level of training, some minor basic training for how to use the system.
So with all this new software, is the whole town gonna be able to talk to each other?
Yes.
Yes,
'Cause that's what we were trying to do, is get the whole
Yes.
town so we can talk to each other.
yes. That would aid that immensely.
What else we got here? So we got a fire truck on here, what, for $1 million?
It's the seed money to start a $1 million truck.
Right, to start paying for it in advance.
What
Right,
number is that?
that is number 11.
Why did that get cut by 100?
Let me explain that one to you, because that one's also discussed, I think, in our letter. The fourth paragraph of our letter. Regarding the Broadbrook Fire Department pumper truck, the committee feels that this would be best funded either via bonding or a lease purchase arrangement. We have allocated a preliminary $100,000 to begin funding either a potential lease purchase or an outright purchase should bonding not become available. So we're hoping that it can fall into bonding, but we realize that there's a potential option out there to do a lease purchase at about $100,000 a year. So roughly. So that was our seed money, so that that lease purchase versus bonding could be discussed and figured out, again, out of our hands. So we wanted to do something to start that project along, and that's why we allocated the initial $100,000.
So 100,000 for 10 years then?
It would be, yeah.
Yes.
They'd finance it for 10 years.
Yes.
It'll go that long, huh?
Probably longer, ultimately, because I can't imagine, or the cost of $1 million was a little high, because they knew they weren't going to get it for 5 years. They looked to do $200,000 a year for 5 years, and tried to look out at what the cost of that truck would be in 5 years.
Well, the info I got here tonight is that.
Somebody did a 5-year for $225 a year.
Yeah,
225, so it's changed even since we've done CIP,
yeah.
so.
Well, I'm sure that's rough too, because they haven't spec'd it out or anything, you know.
So the way this
They
is
just did
set
it
up,
on a flat mill.
the way this is set up, they're kind of figuring in 5 years to get a new truck.
Yes.
Yes, because the one
So
they're having now
you guys
has
are willing to
problems.
wait 5 years to get a new truck?
Well, we put in for 5 years, 200,000 a year, and then the fifth year to order it, so you get it on the sixth year. And that's, you know.
How long does it take to get a fire truck?
year.
About 18 months.
18 months?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, you
I'll
can't
say they were willing to wait 5 years, not that they wanted to wait 5 years.
Because the oldest truck is a 2001, that means it's 18 years old.
Right now, yeah.
Yes,
Getting there.
Well, when I spoke about it, the issue is that the frame is separating.
Right, is that the issue?
It's the frame is starting to scale, and the rails are starting to separate, which is
Right.
typical for New England.
And so it's a double frame truck?
Yep.
so here's the notes I had, the double frame is starting to separate, correct me if I have anything wrong. Only 2 locations right now can diagnose and help them with that. When the second truck, oh, this is the second truck out, it used to be our first. It's used for mutual aid. Maintenance was 20 to 25K last year. They hope to keep it in service for 5 years while they're saving for the replacement, but that carries some risk. Other funding options are the lease purchase or bonding.
What she means by there's only 2 places that can work on it, it's got what they call multiplexing system, which back in the early 2000s was normal for a fire truck to have. There's only 2 places in the state of Connecticut that can work on that truck. One is Fleet Masters in Windsor Locks, and the other one is down in Milford. The Tri-State dealer can't touch it, Ford dealers can't, nobody can touch it for those 2 guys, so you're kind of limited on what you can do. And Fleet Masters, who fixed it the last time, just bought the software for it to fix it. And they're running into problems with that era of truck. And you know, we just put some parts into the motor, put a camshaft in the motor. So the truck is starting to slowly nickel and dime.
It's a 2001 truck.
Gonna happen.
So again, I mean, we realized as we were going through and assigning funding to these, that we were probably not gonna get the 1.5 million we were asking for. So when you ask why we cut that, that would be one of the reasons, because we're trying to meet the needs of, as I said earlier in my discussion here, you know, we're robbing Peter to pay Paul, and eventually Peter's gonna get really annoyed, and he's gonna cost us some really big money. Because the longer you wait, the more expensive these things become. Both because prices go up and because more things are wrong with them.
Well, in 5 years, the way this town is gonna be growing, we're gonna have a lot more tax revenue here. So say if they had the 500 grand in 5 years, we could probably just put the rest in ourselves and pay for the thing. You know? Because we're gonna have a lot of revenue in this town in 5 years. You know, everybody will be like a kid in a candy store around here.
Well, I tend to not believe those things until they're physically here, so
Yeah,
I like to plan for the
Show
worst
me the
and hope
money.
for the best, yes,
That's what I say,
exactly.
show me
Maybe
the
that's
money,
guessing.
but it's already in everything's in
Sorry.
That's
in
guessing.
cement now.
Not planning.
Yeah,
Every-
that's guessing, not planning, exactly.
Every Friday, I tell myself I'm gonna win the lottery.
Yeah, but these projects
20
are
years.
coming to this town, we know that. Okay, we know they're coming.
Well, again, outside the CIP budget discussion purview,
Yeah, I think
so
we're
Yes.
beyond that.
we're gonna
Well,
try
it's nice
to,
to talk about it.
Number 18, okay, replacing the tile,
yes.
okay.
So this is the original tile from the building, it's 65 years old.
I don't think it is.
Well, I beg to differ. That's
And why?
because that's what our maintenance people have told us.
Okay.
And that's what, if you look at the building, it's the same tile all over the place.
Okay, well, I'm a graduate of that place over there, okay? And a number of years ago, it's probably 30 plus now, that there was an addition put onto the school, the cafeteria was expanded, they put a whole new floor in there at the time. Did you know that? Probably the maintenance-
I wasn't there 30 years
Yeah,
ago.
probably the maintenance guy doesn't know that either, but I'm just telling you, it's not a big deal, I'm just saying.
Well, if you look at the tile,
It's not the original.
it
tile.
looks 65 years old, so. Whether or not it is, it's breaking down like it is. So
Okay. Well,
that's really the point.
We'll take a look at it.
And I don't think 30 years ago, they were still installing asbestos tile. Were they?
Yeah, 30 years.
That was
ago.
30 years ago, was it still the same time frame?
It's 9 by 9.
But that
9 by
estimate
9
does
is
cover the asbestos removal and disposal, and then we're only looking to replace it with vinyl tile to try to save money. That obviously will not last as long as
So
some
what
kind of
is the
ceramic
better
tile.
tile? If you don't use vinyl.
I don't think they even priced it out, because
See,
they
that's the
didn't
problem, we're
anticipate
doing
getting-
everything half-ass around this town.
Well,
You know, if we can't afford to do it with the top-notch stuff that'll last for a long time, we shouldn't even do it.
well, you have to do it if tile's starting to come up, because there's asbestos under there. And the tiles are starting to wear to the point that it's a problem. So you can't just not do it.
There's different grades of vinyl, Steve, that's all.
I mean, I'm sure it's not gonna be the vinyl you'd roll out and put in a residential kitchen.
No, I hope not.
But it's still not gonna wear the same way this has. But I think a lot of our town departments realize that they rarely get the projects that they're asking for, either at the level they're asking for it or sometimes at all. And so I think, you know, there's probably a lot of things out there that they would like to do that they just don't even ask for because they know it doesn't have a prayer of ever passing.
Well, if we can increase the building budget, the maintenance, building maintenance budget, that would be helpful.
That would be helpful. That would be helpful.
I mean, I've been in a school over there, I can see where tiles have come up, and they've replaced it with new tile, with the old tile, and it looks like hell, you know?
Because they
So
didn't have the money to do the whole thing.
So they were able to fix those few tiles that were lifted without replacing the whole thing. It doesn't look very nice, you know?
You gotta cover the glue, Steve.
You got
Pardon?
it.
You gotta cover the glue on the floor, because that also contains asbestos.
You can't just leave the
glue
hole
exposed.
there.
Well, I know that.
Yeah. I mean, they do what they can to not spend the money, because the money isn't there. Certainly not there in our maintenance lines. We talked about that just last week. We're not doing any maintenance to speak of. We're saving all of that money to try to make the deficit smaller. So,
Well, can we move on, come back, we'll come back to this and go through after we digest this.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
great, unless there's
that's what I wanna do.
a question that you have on a particular
I have no
project,
questions.
then we can wrap this up. Okay, good.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
It's been
You're welcome.
insightful.
Appreciate your patience. Here's the library.
It's 710-300, the library.
It's in tab 5.
All right, how are you? Good to see you.
Nice to be here.
How are boys doing?
Everything's good.
Yeah?
Very good. You got the fourth string here today.
The fourth string.
Cheryl Ward and myself, Al Floyd. Well, our director is leaving as of Tuesday
Really?
next week.
Leaving
Yes.
permanently?
Yes.
Oh,
Our president is off on a business trip. And our treasurer is vacationing in Florida. She's one of these snowbirds,
Where's
so.
your director going? There was some type of, oh, our director.
All we know of away. I'm not sure where he's from.
In a second.
Well, yeah, it is. A lot of time and effort went into the search and,
It's tough to find people to replace.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
starting it all over.
well, I think part of the reason you'll hear tonight, I think, is you can take a look at our request. And it basically is for one reason, and we'll show you that. I think you also asked for a copy of the audit. Okay. Okay, not to be long-winded, basically what we're looking for is we've asked for an increase of like 9.3 something %. And basically that is really to take care of staffing issues. We need to, well, in addition now to hiring a director, we wanted to hire a second full-time salary person, children's librarian, and also we wanted to bring some of the salaries up closer to what CLA has said we should have all our techs have. A lot of them are working below that level, and if we don't get closer to that level, you know, that puts us in jeopardy of losing grants, and also we get discounts on the internet service from CLA, Connecticut Library Association. So, if you take a look, you know, there's an increase in the salaries. And if you look at the operating expenses, they actually are going down by about 5.3%.
What were the grants last year?
Let's see.
Because you only showing like proposed $400. So it's not a big-
They're not big, it's not a big number, but, you know, everything we lose hurts.
And what do you propose on with the salary?
Well, the salaries, with CLA was saying that, you know, we should have there's 3 levels of technical assistant per library, and each of those levels has a dollar value. And they range from $13.75 an hour up to $20.30 an hour.
And they are for what?
They are
What are
for
the categories?
the 3 techs, LTA 1, LTA 2, and LTA 3. And that just based on the expertise of the person and the duties that they have to do.
But they're all in the basic same, basically do the same work?
No. Like, there's some people who will do cataloging. There are other people who will actually order books. There's one person who does all of our internet stuff and keeps our website up. So, you know, there's just different technical skills required. Some people can do all the weeding and so forth.
Programming, set up programming, run programming.
So currently, we have the director,
Until the,
and then who else do we have?
we have part-time,
Everybody else is part-time.
Okay.
and our director was the only one who was a certified librarian. We don't have any other certified personnel. So we're hoping to bring in another certified, library certified personnel to be in charge of more of our children's programming.
So you're only going up $27,000. So I guess I'm trying to figure out how that 238 salary breaks down.
Do you have our salaries?
No, I don't, actually, I don't have all
I
that
think
that
at the
breakdown.
27, I think that was
That
not
was-
a full-time, but starting with a part-time.
That was starting part-time.
I thought he was taking a part-time and making it full-time. Is what, when he came to meet with Bob and I think that's what he told us.
But, yeah, but then we
But we
also
didn't
would
really
have
get
to,
any detail.
we also have to go back and backfill the part-time position.
Well, no, I think the addition of the 27 was taking one of the full-time and make it part-time, and just having one other part-time. So
okay.
combining that part-time with that children's librarian services that you want, so that you have a full-time altogether. So that's why the price only went up 27, was because it was half of, to
Okay.
go with another half to make a whole. But you guys have issues anyhow, because your whole IRA thing, you don't offer full-time benefits.
We offer IRA, yeah.
How many
No,
medical
because
insurance?
No one is full-time.
How many employees do you have?
I think it's 11.
And how many full-time?
One.
One director.
Volunteers, you have volunteers there too?
Sometimes high school kids,
Oh,
sometimes some
occasionally.
of our seniors in town
Yeah.
come in and do shelf reading,
Okay.
help put things away.
Now, endowment income, is that income on the money, or is that, those are the endowments you receive?
No, income on money.
Okay,
Yeah.
so how much money is there?
Well, if you take a look at, we have 3 accounts, and they total about 1.6 million.
But it's not touchable.
We have
Some of it-
restricted
Some
and
of it is
unrestricted.
restricted, some of it we use, of course, to help
We use the
come up with the
unrestricted.
76,000 that we contribute toward library service.
And you use all of the available funds from that endowment each year?
Yes.
The 76K is all that there is?
Well, no,
We
no,
have a
no.
part-time rental.
No, we don't use all of it. We take no more than, we try to restrict it to 5%. If we took any more than that, there would be no endowment.
No, I know that. What I'm saying is,
Oh, yeah,
The
that's all of the
76,
money.
that's all the money
Yes.
that is available without decreasing principal?
Yes.
Yes. Of course, it varies according to the market, how much are
yeah,
unrestricted
understand.
funds for the year. And we do have 99 Main Street, which generates apartment rental.
Is there just one apartment there?
No, it's, how many do we have?
It's like six, and I think 5 of them are rented, one's vacant.
Oh, really? Oh. Doesn't look big enough for 6.
It's
but-
surprising.
Well, you look at it from the street, and then there's some on the backside.
Yeah.
But they're all very little though, aren't they? Aren't they like little
Well, it's
places?
the same agency, so they just have little offices. It's, what is the name of, what is it called? You see, we're kind of put in front of you tonight.
Well,
So
appreciate
these
it.
aren't people that live there then?
No.
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 These are
It's a
businesses
service.
Yes.
Well, it's actually, it's like a outreach health service.
Oh, okay.
For
Yep.
teens.
I know I read the sign
Right,
walking by it.
right.
They are business rentals,
They are
Yes.
business
not
rentals.
residential.
Correct.
Exactly.
I will say your library director didn't like being a landlord.
Yes, we know that.
He shared that with us.
And grants, Charlie asked a question before, but.
That's from the state.
Yes, but $400, is there no way to expand that?
There might have been, I don't know how much pursuing of that was done this year.
I was told that it was tied to the number of things they loan out. So there's an interconnection. If me with a Windsor library card comes to your library and borrows books, that's where the 400 is driven off from, a formula from the state. But, his complaint was that we don't have a lot in our collection. We want them
That
available
people
for our
want, yeah.
people first, and they're not buying a lot of new books because there isn't a lot of money in publications to spend. So that number keeps getting smaller and smaller because less and less people are coming from other places to get stuff because they can get it at their own libraries.
And are there no other state or federal grants that you can reach out for?
If we see anything, we go after it. Hopkins Foundation for Public Giving has given us a few grants in the past, and so we look for them sometimes. Well, right now, I guess Big Y has selected us to be the recipients of some grant money if we come down and, promote the library and I guess the bags that they sell.
Yeah.
We have to set up a little table and whatnot, and we can advertise, and we get $1 off each bag that gets sold.
That's great.
So we're gonna be doing that, we applied to Walmart for one of their grants.
For computers.
So, so we look for grants where we can find them.
Work to do that.
Yeah.
The annual fund drive, you're saying 10,000. What was it this past year? How much did you get?
This past year was,
I don't think we made 10.
I thought we did,
11?
I thought we did almost 13.
Okay.
So we're hoping for the same kind of performance, but you never know. As a matter of fact, it'll be going out in the mail
As we speak.
by the end of the month.
The 10,000 is based on historical,
I think so.
on average,
Historical
you got
average,
10.
yeah.
Last year you did better.
I think last year we did better, yes.
We put a PayPal link onto our website, and some people did donate through that this year, which I think attributed to some of the increase.
Well, right now, we're up to like $4,600 that we've received so far this year.
And there are certain businesses in town who are traditionally helpful and loyal to the library, as the Rotary Club and the Lions Club and the East Windsor Sportsman's Athletic
Well, the
Club.
Rotary's gonna do a program in April at the library, so.
The career
Career
program.
fair kind of thing, yeah.
It sounds like you need to reach out and find a new director, is that correct?
Oh, yes,
Oh,
we do.
yes.
And what is the director's salary currently?
64? We pay him
64,000.
64?
Yeah.
54K?
64.
And is that a competitive wage?
No. Well, Ross, one of our members, is that ad going in the paper or the name this week?
What's that?
Is that ad going out this week for the new
Should be
director?
going out this week, yeah.
Okay.
Where do you post that?
Oh, goodness. Everywhere.
Well, mainly in Connecticut Library.
Connecticut Library Association website, Indeed.
You put it on Indeed?
Yeah, we go, across
Okay.
New England, hopefully, but,
primarily, but because, you know, it's really tough to bring people in from California. But if there's a good candidate out there, we'll try to bring them in.
Right, yeah. I think that Indeed is the most viewed now for all that stuff. So,
The director that's leaving has only been with the library for a year.
A year.
Yeah, just over a year, yes.
Previously, the director had been with the library for some long time, is that correct?
Almost 30 years, or 30 years, yeah. Yeah.
Signs of our time, better wages, is that the reason?
Well, wages, I think, is a part of it, and also not having, I don't think, sufficient staff that he needed really to do the job he wanted to do was part of the problem.
And monies. It's frustrating when you have a very big book budget, when you're spending so much money just maintaining the building, because we do take care of our own snow removal and repairs and other issues like that. So that's about everyone, it's always money.
just curious, what is the snow removal cost?
That I don't know. It, you know, depends on the season and how much snow we get, but.
I don't know if you had a contract.
We
We do have a contract.
PMC.
PMC does our plowing, and they also
And our
do our
lawn
landscaping.
care.
Okay.
Maintenance and repairs are a big number.
Yes,
26%,
they are. Yeah.
Because the building's old.
Yes.
Is there anything that can be done to get some of these recurring costs down? Maintenance as an example.
Well, I know, we look wherever we can, and if you take a look, you know, the operating and costs is anticipated to go down, 5%. And, you know, we're always looking to find vendors that are a little cheaper and somebody else that can do the job.
I don't know what you pay for the snow removal, but I'm a liaison to the Wells Point Fire Department District, and as I go to their meetings and going through their budgets and so forth, and that there's a member, correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, there's one of the fire department members in the fire department does the snow removal over there, correct?
Well, he's not a member, no, he's the son of the fire marshal.
Okay, that he does the snow removal over there, so you might want to see if you can get a better quote from him, since he's doing the work right across the street.
You look into that. Does he do landscaping as well?
I don't know.
Does he use facility
I don't know.
landscaping?
Our guy's a tree guy, and he does a flat rate. It's $6,000, no matter snow or not.
Okay.
See, Mike with PMC does the mowing and mulching and
Right.
plowing, and he does the whole thing.
Yeah,
He does.
trims bushes, does, yeah.
He's very good about getting there, so we can have that.
Is summer maintenance a big cost? Is the summer
Snow.
seasonal maintenance, grounds maintenance, is that a big cost?
I don't know, well, weekly mowing,
Weekly mowing and,
mulching.
they trim the bushes twice a year. They've taken even a couple trees down for us. Yeah, it's a pretty healthy amount.
Do you go up a competitive bid on something like that?
Well, this is,
We
he's
did
new
before
this
we
year.
selected them, yeah.
Yeah. This is their first year with us.
Yeah, last year was
PMC.
the first year.
The utilities to 23,000, that's electric, and what else is in there?
Well, our telephone and our
Internet.
internet.
Is the heat in there too?
and the utility.
So, yeah, that would be, the air conditioning and heating, all that would be all included.
I don't know if they have this or not, but I don't know if there's any grants that you can get for solar, for.
To put up panels,
Yeah, for a library, that,
roof would probably cave in with our luck.
but,
Just
you know,
it's an old
I
building.
mean, I've seen, I've talked to people that have had it done, and they have, big time savings with it. In my case, I won't live long enough to have that paid back, but in a public building, and that's one thing, I haven't seen a lot of,
Solar.
Yeah, in public buildings, and I wonder if that's an opportunity there long-term to have some kind of
Right,
savings.
we might not recognize it for 5 years down the
Well, I don't
line,
think we
or
have
we
enough
could get it.
roof that faces south to,
South.
yeah, to
Because
even do
we have
that.
a lot of trees taken down, but they're not
We
all
have a
ours.
flat roof up there on part of the building. We have to get one of those, like, those big
And put it up.
square and put it out in the parking lot.
Yeah, put it in the
Have an
parking
array
lot.
of, like a farm, solar farm.
Just a thought.
You know, I have no personal experience with it. I have a friend who lives over in Avon, and he claims that he has a net gain from putting solar on his house. It's a pretty decent sized house, so he has a lot of surface area. And he says that, in a general sense, that Eversource pays him. He actually has zero cost for electricity. And I have no backup for that at all, but in some cases, I guess, with enough roof surface area and at the right angle and without any trees to shroud the panels, I guess. I have no idea whether he does crazy things like go up and dust them off when it snows on him, because then at that point in time, you're down. You're off, and you're getting net power at that point in time. But
I would be curious to see
There-
if your
there-
savings
there
are
are,
instant, or if you have to wait a number
Connecticut
of
state
years.
benefits for putting in solar power. I've never investigated them, but it might be worth a look.
Might be
Yeah.
worth a look. Sure.
Yeah, I just don't think that we have the structure for that kind of application. But we can definitely have somebody come and take a look.
You know, I think one of the things you'll find is that if the roof is not reasonably new, that they probably will not install solar panels for you, because it does require some kind of a penetration of the roof, and you have to have pretty good shingles, I think, to do that. And they don't want to take them off. They want to have an installation that will last at least 20 years. That's the deal I think you have to sign up for.
Then the preference is, I don't know, is it shingles on the roof there now?
Not if it's a flat roof.
There's shingles on the old building,
Which is
but the new addition, it's
Probably rolled roofing,
Yeah.
flat roof,
You know,
rubberized flat.
Yeah,
rolled roofing.
their preferences with that are metal roofs. So
Yeah,
it's
probably.
forever, you
Yeah.
know, that's why I was asking it. I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Just a thought, it might work, it might not.
I looked into that for my house. My house sits right out in the open. The return wasn't enough for me.
No.
No, wasn't enough.
And the electronic services, what are those?
That would be our internet.
That's your, how your downloadable books
Yes.
or any of that kind of stuff.
For any of the programs that we have available for patrons to come in to use, some of the tutorial programs.
Okay, so you have to pay a monthly fee for those or something?
Mostly annual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and also there are courses online that people can take.
Yep. You guys buy into an Ancestry or into a computer program, and then it's available to the patrons to come in and use it
Okay.
under the library's
Or at
ID.
home for your own library card.
For your library card.
Is
It's
there any
also our
state aid available for
circulation.
that kind of thing? You know, I say that, and I'm going to say something I think I know. Inner cities, they're apparently hooking up, the state, I think, is hooking up Wi-Fi, or federal government is, in a lot of inner cities.
Well, the Nutmeg Network came through everywhere,
Mhm.
but you still pay for it. And like in Canton, it was no cheaper than we were already paying Comcast.
Okay.
So the price was the same whether we went with the
Yeah.
Nutmeg Network
I
or
thought
whether
there was
we
a-
bought our own. There was
I
no
thought there was a
savings.
significant
They
saving,
they
that's
did a
all.
lot of the install of it, the dark fiber around the places for people,
Mhm.
but there's still a cost.
Okay. And it was no better than.
It was no better than what we
going to
were
the private
paying.
sector.
Right. Yep.
My only other question is, what was the attendance last year compared to the year before?
It went down,
Last year was less, yeah.
everything went down attendance to our programs, our circulation went down.
Is that because we do not have a good inventory of?
I don't think that
hard
helps.
copy books?
Right.
Yeah,
And,
like the limited number of bestsellers that we have, you know, and it hurts.
People
Like,
go
we used to be
elsewhere.
able, yeah, we used to be able to get 2 to 4 copies of some of them, and right now we're lucky to have 1.
We're well, you know, a strength in a community is in their park and rec department, their schools, and their libraries. There's your strength. And we try to satisfy the needs of patrons who satisfy the demographics of this town. So we know our patrons like the most popular books that are out, like Stephen King and Dean Koontz and
Daniel Steele.
Yeah.
As the new books come out.
new ones. If something comes out, a new book, a new nonfiction comes out that we know is going to be popular, then we try to get multiple copies because we want our patrons to not have to wait 5 to 10 weeks to get one copy that's on hold. So they'll just go to other libraries. I mean, why wait if they can go to another library? And also new books for our children. We want our children to come in and our teens to come in. Our teen attendance is not good. We really need someone to be more of an advocate to go into the schools to engage our teens. But it all starts with having materials and making it an inviting place that satisfies the needs of the community. And our hands are tied.
Do you guys do museum passes?
We do.
Yes.
So do you have the attendance numbers with you by chance?
Actually, I don't.
Okay.
I may.
But, oh, you
I
you had requested me.
I think that the attendance I have is from just this fiscal year.
do you have
June,
historical data or
December.
just 1 year data?
That was a state document. Where is that? I saw. I'm sorry, tripped away from me. I did see it.
Well, money for heating oil.
Okay, here's our statistics of circulation by category, as well as our patron count. You're welcome to it. Our room reservations, we have 2 rooms available for the public to use. So it's only from July through December, and it will tell you, for example, adult books. In July, we circulated 803, but in December, only 564, so it's steadily gone down. Our young adult, we circulated in July 98, but by December, we only had 32 books that month go out.
How do you verify?
That all comes on our computers. You can print out.
And those are the users, right?
These
If
are-
I walk in
And
and
take
look
out-
for a book and I do not find it, then I don't count.
Well, there is in here, there's also, I think,
Patron
there's
visits.
patron visits is also in here. Patron count. So in July, our patron count was about 1,700, but in December, it was just a little over 1,100.
Is that, excuse me, weather related?
Partly holiday probably.
Usually, though, our holidays are
Busier.
busier, so there has been a decrease in,
Is that an abnormal trend?
yes.
In the past, it has not been down that.
Not that much,
No.
yeah, true.
Do you know of the people that have library cards? You have to have library card to get a book,
Do you
right?
have one?
No.
Why don't you come in and we'll give you one?
Okay.
That library card is
Your
good.
chair does,
That library card is good any place in the state of Connecticut.
Yes.
correct.
Oh, it is?
No, not
No?
in East
No.
Granby.
I was just
or
gonna
there's
say that
certain-
there's
like
now
a
the Connect doesn't
consortium.
have everybody in it anymore. There's
Mm-hmm.
less and less libraries in it now than there were before. But yes, you have to belong to that program for people to be able to use their card there.
But you can use your card in Windsor or Ellington or Summers or Enfield. They're all part of the group. Suffield, Windsor Locks. East Granby, no. East Granby is with some other group.
Because when my wife and I got the cards, again, it's my memory, it was my recollection that I could use it in any place in the state of Connecticut, but not so.
Well, it's probably true when you got it, but.
Right,
But
not
not
anymore
now.
now.
Not
They've
now.
broken themselves out into more than one group now.
Okay.
The state isn't giving the money they used to give to be a participant in it.
I see.
Those monies used to be way bigger monies to participate. And they stopped doing the interloan library
Interlibrary
deliveries.
loan.
Whereas the
So as-
bands would bring them.
There used to be somebody that brought the books to East Windsor that people were waiting for from other libraries. And then they would pick up East Windsor's books and take them somewhere else that somebody else was looking for. And the state was funding all that, and that all got cut. I think they're doing it to some level still, but not nearly as much as it was.
Because you can search any book in our library, any library, and it will show you the holdings, the libraries that have copies of that book and how many copies and if they're checked out or if they're checked in. And in the past, you could just order it and be brought to the library.
I know on occasion, my wife used to go over to the library, and if you didn't have the book, you would get it for her in a few days.
Same idea.
And that
Same
still
thing,
happens.
that's how
That
they
still
did
happens.
it. They would search and find out who had a copy of the book that they could get for your wife.
In your records, do you know how many people are East Windsor residents that use the library, because they have a library card? And if they're in Broadbrook or the Warehouse Point section?
I don't know if it's broken down that
I
way.
think we can do that.
Maybe Joyce can pull that record.
Well, we'll see if I can get that for you.
Yeah, so that 1,700 patrons doesn't necessarily, it could be the same person 5 days in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
So that's not necessarily going to give you that number.
But that's okay too, isn't it? Because the
Well,
business.
sure.
And
We
it's
just
you
want them
walking
to
in
use
there
the
and it's still
library.
not borrowing anything,
Yeah.
because in that 1,700 people, only 883 things were done, so you can tell that not everybody that walked into that library actually walked out with a book to borrow.
They could use
However,
a
it doesn't
computer,
make it
they
very
could read a
I
newspaper,
walk in
look at a
twice a week to get-
magazine.
Yeah, I'm
Right.
asking that question for this reason, you know.
Same person.
Maybe there's a way we can juice up the participation there.
We would like that.
And, do we do something from, the town hall here that, what the amenities are, things you offer at that library? We don't have that here. And, when somebody comes in, especially new people that move into
Like,
town.
like a welcome
Yeah,
envelope, something,
yeah,
yeah.
that's kind of what I'm thinking about. So
have
if
had-
we knew that, then that would be helpful.
And we,
And also with the ones that aren't
Yeah.
from town,
Yeah.
where's
Well,
the
we have-
draw from?
You have a link on the town page for us,
Yeah,
so that helps people can go to our website and get information about, services and all that.
and that was
But,
the chair of the link on the
yeah.
website, you did get that up for us last year. And we have a wonderful children's programmer who also works at the morning program, she's before school program, isn't she? But she's done some work trying to get kids to get library cards and to get them into the library.
Do you have programs for children where pre-school kids come in and they have a reader for them?
We have programs for, there's the birth to 2, there's the 3 to 5, there are different programs,
Toddlers and all different
toddlers.
ages. So we have programs for all those age groups.
With pajama night,
Yeah, there's a movie night.
They require manpower
oh yes.
to
Yeah.
do those.
And money, if you're going to have some type of an activity,
Yeah.
you want to encourage them and have something afterwards, you need money for the materials, and usually they give them juice and maybe a little snack, and that's money.
What has to be done to turn that trend around? That's not a good trend.
No, what has to be done?
Yeah. More money, more books.
Well,
I think
more
that
staff,
would be
too,
huge,
would
more
help.
staffing, especially someone who is.
More programs?
More
for-
program, well, you
for-
need staffing
For seniors,
for programming.
for kids, for
Yeah.
preschool kids, so that mothers can take them there. And
But when, in the school system, across the street or the other, when there's a new student that comes into the school, they should be given to take home,
Packet.
a packet of, this is what we do at the Warehouse Point Library, welcome you, get your library card, that kind of thing. So then you begin to build on that, which is a simple thing to do. And I'm sure the school would do it. When you started off saying, you know, what values a town is the school system, the
Park and
libraries.
rec
And park and rec. You're 100% right. So I'd like to see this be a lot more successful.
Of course, we need money for those welcoming packets. We could figure out some way to
Yeah.
do it. We've got some really creative staff.
Yeah. So we're here to help you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Yes.
I got a question for you.
Yes, you may.
You know, how many people actually show up to the pajama party?
Oh, the kids!
Yeah, how many actually show up?
Are you interested, Steve?
Yeah, I might go there, Mike.
We get a Wednesday for you. No, there are actually quite a few. Quite a
Yeah,
few, yeah.
so then the parents bring them down, do they hang out there with them or
Sure.
drop them
Oh,
off
yeah.
and go home and
They
come
stay with
back?
their-
or-
Or they sit around and sometimes they'll read magazines while the kids are having their program and whatnot.
Yeah, well, I know what you're saying, you know, like you go into the store or something, you see these adults in there in pajamas. What are
Oh,
they
that's
thinking?
awful.
What are they
It's
thinking?
embarrassing. If I had dropped my kids off at school with a pair of pajamas, they would have been humiliated. But my children went through and your children, they went through the story hours at the library.
Well, that's how I got connected with the
That's how I
library.
got sucked in.
That's it. Pulled right in there, huh?
Yes, they did.
Thank you for all the good work you do.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry that it's turning downward.
no, we'll turn it back around.
We will.
I've been there 35 years and, you know, there's some ups and downs, but for the most part, it's good.
We have really a wonderful, I think our strength is with our staff. We have really a wonderfully committed staff who they'll roll along very well until
Yeah,
we
that's good.
replace them. And then Mr. Ross and I are retired librarians, so we can kind of help them a bit.
I'll say this from personal experience. Anytime I've been there, the people at the library have been very courteous and very helpful. And the facilities always look nice and clean. And we've held some meetings in one of the conference rooms, meeting rooms, and it's been a good experience. It was set up properly for us. People were there and greeted us and told us, where it was and all that kind of thing, so it was very convenient. So I think you do a good job.
But speaking of those meeting rooms, what is the charge for the meeting room?
Nothing.
Nothing. And how big are the rooms? How many people would it
We
accommodate?
have 2 rooms. We have the small room, which has,
The boardroom has about 12 chairs. The conference room would hold about maybe 40.
that's where we have our children's program,
Okay.
more of a discussion for adults.
Okay.
And what do you hope to do, get donations because you're allowing people to use it? Do people do that?
Some people do, yeah.
We
Like the
actually,
photography club that meets there all the time, they give us a donation every year. There's a condo association that meets that gives us a donation.
Scanton Glen,
And so, yeah, we do get some donations from people who use it.
and we've even had, we had a group of parents, they're no longer living in East Windsor, but they were here, Pratt and Whitney or Hamilton Standard would bring people in to train them, and they were living in the apartments that are on Newberry, in that area. And they brought their children into the library all the time for every program, and as they were leaving, they made a several $100 donation to the library to thank us, which was just such a very nice thing to do. So,
Bob, we want to think about that. As you said, we can't get rooms for meetings
That's true, right?
You know that?
Yeah, that's true.
in the town.
use your library.
Think about that. So I wasn't
Yeah,
even aware of that.
the room might be available, you can always check the schedule
How late
or call.
would we able to use it? Could we use it like from 8 to 10 or something like that? We need a person there later in the evening to lock up, I should think.
We have an exterior door
Oh,
that with the boardroom,
Yeah,
that
with
they
town
would
functions,
exit.
we might be
They
able
wouldn't be
to-
able to get into the
We
main
might be able to
library
let you in and
bathrooms.
then allow someone to be in charge of making sure that
Yeah.
everybody got out the door.
we haven't, I've been there years back with planning and zoning held a meeting there,
Okay.
so.
So,
Yeah, American Heritage River meets there on every third Thursday. And that's the night we're closed early, so since I'm a member of that, then I open it up for them and close it up.
Okay, that's good. Good stuff to know.
You've been with that outfit for 35 years, huh?
Yeah.
Happened there, not as long as you, but.
Yeah, we moved into
Change.
town in '79. My wife started taking the kids there. Well, a kid first, and then as the others came along. So my neighbor across the street, Bill Clark, got me wrapped in there, and I've been there ever since.
Where is he?
Good for you.
I'm not sure what Bill is right now.
Yeah, because he was so active in church and everything, and then I didn't see him. He was my English teacher in high school.
Yeah, he was our computer guy too, at the library for a while.
Was he?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Well, thank you very much.
And we'll be seeing you getting your cards now.
Okay.
Yes. You just want me to write it down?
Looking at the Broadbrook one here.
Say hello to Ron for me.
I will. I'll see him
I don't think so.
tomorrow.
Yeah?
And we've talked to him
Oh,
already.
good.
We talked to Paul Anderson
Yeah,
already.
yeah.
Oh, thank you.
He's got his son has a basketball game tomorrow night, and his last
How old's
one
his
on
son?
Sunday. 9.
9? Really?
So does Jason.
Is he still as thin as he was?
Ron? No.
No?
No, we all gain a little bit as we get a little older.
Because I was saying, he couldn't have been out that wind the other day, but that would blow him away. Not now though, huh?
Not anymore, no.
Okay, you take care.
How much was he looking for the Broadbrook, like 10 grand?
No, 25.
Broadbrook asked for 25, but you guys had asked me to do a list of what currently is being paid for, and the total currently being paid for is $10,768. You would ask on this list, I had starred everything that they're currently doing versus
It
the
needs
wish.
about 11 grand.
Yeah. But that still leaves the librarian as a volunteer, so no pay for the librarian. No, they don't pay for snow plowing, because it gets done for them. It doesn't count their roof fund that they were looking for, or their repair fund that they were looking for.
You see, this is what bothers me, okay? You take the cemetery, they got it in Rosendahl, that's, they got all this money. They had over $1 million, all right, stashed away. Can't touch it, so they come for us looking for money, all right?
But they can take, in a general sense, I believe they can take interest.
Yeah, they can take any of the money that's made from the other monies.
I don't think they do there, though. I think when they presented to you guys, they said they didn't. They said that perpetual money does not.
Because they always ask for 40, and they get cut to 20, and they always seem to make things work. So they know they're gonna ask for 40, they know they'll get cut to 20, and they're right where they wanna be. But back to the library thing. I mean, we don't own that library, it's a private deal. They come to us looking for a gift, you know? And I mean, they get a lot of money. And we don't wanna give poor Paul anything up here, that aggravates the piss out of me, to be honest with you.
Don't want to do what?
We don't want to give them anything for the Broadbrook Library,
Oh,
but
okay.
we give Warehouse Point, I mean, yeah, I know they don't have what Warehouse Point has. But you know something, when I was a kid, I went to Broadbrook School, and we used to walk up that road, single file to that library. You know that?
Yep.
We did. And damn it, I don't like giving him all the dough and not giving him stuff to run his place, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he should get some money up there.
So, but you guys had asked me to add it up, and I did, and it's $10,768.
And that don't even cover some things that he should be doing.
Right, like paying a librarian.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it does include their internet, $720 for their internet, because they can't really do anything without internet there.
Sure.
So that's,
So
but those are the
realistic-
things they're actually paying for right now.
Realistically, he should probably be getting like 20 grand.
Well, that's impressive. We don't.
And the other people are getting how much?
200 and...
397, How
Well,
much
268,000 is what they got this year.
this year?
Yep. You go back one page, up on the top, I have both libraries side by side, the very top of that page. The one you
Yeah,
open,
right
I see.
here,
Yep.
okay.
So right now, Broadbrook this year got $5,000, and Warehouse Point got $268,000.
See, that ain't right. That's not.
Okay, so now we can start going through we're going to start going through our
So what I
Departments.
did do for you guys is I ran a current, where we are right now on expenditures, you know how you were asking where people were trending? I ran you one through today. So I think it will be helpful for you guys to have this information.
Thank you.
I'm going to send this one over to Steve for me.
So, do you know what the percent it's gonna be with everything the way it stands right now?
Yes.
And what, about 30% increase?
Nope, it is at 10 point something. Hold on a minute, I'll get to it for you.
Well,
And what the tax
right.
increase I have too. So this is the one that has the 3 years of actuals, and it shows where we're spent and what we're asking for next year. So right now, the town park, let me go up a little higher. The town park takes your budget from 14,969,290 to 16,345,754, an increase of 1.3 million, 9.2%.
And what happens, Amy, if you back out the $460,000?
It's about a third of that, so you would be at 6.
You'd be at 6%?
Yeah, it's about 3%. 1.5, I have a sticky. 1.5% is 200, of last year's budget, 1.5% is $239,000, and 3% is $478,000.
478?
Yep, and Broadbrook is 465, Warehouse Point is 464. So they're just around 3% of the total.
Yeah, okay.
So they're about a third of that increase,
Is-
for 1.376.
Is CIP in that thing too?
Nope, right below that, do you see the 977 to the 1602? That includes the CIP allocation and the lease payments. So that is a $624,000 increase, or 64%.
If I could see that from over there, I would have been high.
Sorry. I didn't print it either. So the CIP, so the total town, if you add them together, we're going from 15,946,958, and that's the adopted budget that we're currently living with, to 17,947,827, $2 million increase, 12.55%, which is town government plus CIP.
And I think that it behooves us really to set ourselves a target for, you know, for what we think is the right kind of increase for this fiscal year.
And I think the fire department, if we put it in there, that's a big thing. And so, I think with the fire department, there is tremendous inequity in the taxing.
There are indeed, no question.
And so my stance is to let the town see if they can, if they want to, raise their taxes to deal with that. So I'd like to see it in the budget for certainly the first referendum. And if you took that out, as Amy said, you'd be taking out 3%. So you could go in with a first referendum with, from the town side, a 6% increase. And then if they said no, you could take that out and break it down to 3%. So
But the referendum is not going to be able to do that.
Why not?
Because they're going to vote on what the percentage of increase is.
Right.
Not going to vote on it by line item.
No, I just said no, let them vote on the whole thing. So you vote on, and maybe it will say 7% increase.
Yeah.
And we have to say, this 7% increase would do away with the, or at least reduce the inequity of the fire tax.
Mm-hmm.
And if you vote down this budget, this 7% budget increase, then we'll have the Board of Finance will have to reevaluate the whole thing. And if they take the Board of, or the Fire Department out, then the next budget you send to referendum will be 4%.
But you see, people, you know, they might think that that's okay in the fire department, but get rid of this other expenditure stuff. It won't be directly related to that.
Well, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
They might say that's okay, but, you know,
Well, but
You can ask exploratory questions on your ballot. You could say, is the Board of Ed budget too high, too low? Are you okay funding Warehouse Point Fire? I mean, there are ways you can ask exploratory questions. They're not binding, but
Okay.
you could get more information than you're getting in your 3 different referendums to get answers to some of those questions.
yeah.
and
Okay.
basically,
But you aren't going to know unless you ask questions. It's just going to be a no vote, it's just a no vote for whatever. But the rest of it is, Board of Ed has approved a budget already, which is a $2 million increase of a total of 8.59%. So right now, we are looking at a $4 million increase, 10.19.
It's never gonna sell. This ain't gonna sell. It's gonna be shot down so fast, it'll be unbelievable.
It translates to a 12.21% increase in taxes.
Never gonna happen in East Windsor, guaranteed.
So, I think
What
we
did
need to
it pass
start
last year?
I
Was it
think-
like about 3?
5,
How much?
5,
It passed at 5% increase?
on both sides.
One time.
Did it?
Yep.
Was it that high? I thought it was like 3.
Our totals last year were,
Well, I'm really shocked about that.
I brought it
I
with
was,
me.
it was.
Our numbers are, our total expenditures for the town side was 3.55%. The capital was 28.36%. Debt service was 2%. Board of Ed was 4.35%. So the total expenditures were 4.49. I got fast.
if you took, in the CIP is asking for a $600,000 increase.
Right, so that's a big chunk of it.
And so.
So if you don't do anything with CIP and you just look at this 1.3, that's when I was talking about the third being Warehouse Point, that's of your guys, that's not talking about CIP.
Yeah, so if you take the Warehouse Point out and you take CIP out, then you take $1 million out.
Right,
So
of 2. So then your increase instead of 12.55 is gonna be 6.5, 7,
So there you go.
6.25.
So there's those 2 items would cut your increase in half from the town side.
But there are a lot of things in here.
Oh, yeah.
We have new bodies, we
Oh,
have
yeah.
a big increase in the road maintenance for Len. There are some big numbers in this increase, decrease column that you could go through.
And
I mean,
that's let's start that now. We only got 15 minutes, so we'll do a start. So,
Right.
And obviously there,
so you were 277, 772, you're going to 291, 075. Oh, I should probably tell you, these are the 6 changes I've made so far. This top number is the number that Bob gave out on his initial presentation on February 4th, when he did the presentation for the budget. This was this number that he gave out. Since then, we had to add $1,500 to his professional services because there was a top number of only $10,100 and the detail below broke down to $11,600, so it was $1,500 short. His salary, he had me adjust down to be an even 2, so that was $316. The tax collector, her education and dues number, she came back when she was talking to you guys with a reduction of $485. Registrars, to add in the primary for the municipal election, need to add $1,424 to printing and $600 to media cards. There's another $1,200 that they had to add to media cards, and that was for the third backup. They have to have, now the state requires them to have the machine they're working on, a backup and a spare. And they did not have that in their budget before. So $1,200 of this is for the backup
And the other 600 is tied to that same referendum for
So back with
municipal election.
Needs the media cards, is that the deal?
Right, they need 3 now
Okay.
at each site. The
Okay.
state is requiring 3 at each site.
Yeah.
And then this number is because the water company, after telling us there was no increase, came through with a new bill for hydrants. I shared with the Board of Finance last week that we're gonna be $8,000 short this year because it started in January. And it means this next year's budget needs to go up. These numbers are all in that 1255 of the total on these sheets.
No,
But those are the changes I've made since Bob gave out a number in the very first presentation.
Amy, is that an avoidable cost, or are we required?
The hydrants?
Yeah,
No,
it's not an avoidable cost.
nope.
It
You
is-
pay by the foot for whatever pipe size you have and for the number of hydrants. You don't have a choice.
Okay.
Connecticut Water Company bills you.
Does that entail their requirement to go out and open the hydrants and run them to?
I have no idea.
That covers all their maintenance. They maintain all that stuff.
I can tell you.
But last year, for example, in our little community, in there, it's brand new, it's only 12 years old. They actually came in and they ran the hydrants. Before they did that, there was a telephone call, robocall,
Letting
that said
everybody
that
know.
they were going to do it, and that the water might be temporarily cloudy. If that was the case, please run your water spigots in the house.
So that's what they send us.
That's what they do.
They flush the mains.
That's their job. They're flushing them out.
Now,
That's all part of all.
You see that, like, what he lives, that they're paying for that?
We do not. We can't tell
We can't tell.
in our bill. We know that there's more hydrants on that list, but they don't give us a list. They just say 237 hydrants, and somebody said there's 277 in town. So no, I can't tell that Andy is not paying for the same one that we're paying for.
How do we get to that?
It says there are 237 hydrants in town.
Right. And somebody said there's really 277.
Okay.
I don't know how we know that, but, so that's 40 others are privately paid for.
No,
I was going to say,
That'd be in the condominiums, right?
I'm sure.
yeah, I was going to say, we get billed for our hydrants in our little community. So that does not get paid for by the town.
Now, his question was, how do we know it's not
Oh.
in our total?
I know Lenny's got a map of every hydrant in the town. It's a project for another day.
So that's, but those are the adds, those are the things I've either added or decreased. And we, in Canton, we used to call them technical adjustments. Things we didn't know about. When Bob gave this number out to everybody, these things we didn't know about. As we worked on things, looked at things, things came up, letters come from the water department. So those are the things we've made, and that gets us to that number. All right, so now, so the selectmen are going up 13,303. Clearly, this is just a re-breakout. This used to be $10,100 as a budget. But when you got to the breakout, it had $6,100 for the recording secretary, $4,700 for advertising, so it really only left you $800 for professional services. But we made 2 decisions in this budget this year. All advertising, we are spelling out into its own category. Because land uses was mixed in with their professional services, assessor was mixed in with their professional services. So advertising now is its own category in anybody who has advertising.
This just really adds to the paper for town meeting. You have to-
Right, or for land use, it's because they're making a land use decision. I mean, they're required advertisements, but we are having an advertising category. Instead of mushing it into this big $10,000 number, and people thinking that there's this huge amount of money there to spend, when 4,700 of it is restricted to advertising.
Now, is that just one entry for the town, or do other departments have like entries up for that?
The bulk of it is here.
Yeah.
Land use has their own, because theirs is about 4,500 also. And then assessor has a small one. Those are the only 3 places I found advertising listed out in anybody else's professional services. So if I had a vacancy in my office, I'm not paying for that ad, Bob's paying for that ad. I don't pay for any of the Board of Finance, their public hearing notice, your guys' public hearing notice, that's all paid for out of this one account. So this 61, believe it or not, divided by 125, was a weird number. It was not an actual number. It was something point something meetings. I'm like, so how's that work? So Bob and I sat down and said, what's reasonable? You guys meet twice a month, so that's 24 meetings a year. And if we add 10 or 11 to it to come up with budget meetings, other meetings that you guys have to hold, we came up with a number of 35 meetings. That number makes that $43.75. We left the advertising the same. I adjusted it within your professional services. So now we have a little more money to spend when we need a middle study or some other study or somebody's advice. So that is what I did to break that. It's the same number of 11.6 that was in here. It's just broken out this way now. So the numbers look really a little bit crazy, but they're really not significantly different from what was in there last year. The only other big place is the community outreach. Currently, the $2,000 covers my budget mailer that I sent out on behalf of the Board of Finance last year. Bob has asked for other things, so we have more means to reach out to our constituents.
It would be good for the town to have something for community outreach, but you know.
Well, we can come back to it. I don't think we, I mean, at a 14.79%, at $13,000, that is not breaking us over the $1 million. So.
But I'd like to go through these lines.
Yeah, that's what I thought we should.
Yeah, you know, here's my opinion. See what you all think here. Okay. Recording secretary, there's enough money there, we think, yeah. Okay. Professional services, all right, you explain that. You explain the advertising. And we get supplies and equipment. We only spent $266.
So far, yep.
So far, but we'll spend most of that. And that's not for us. That's for the, I mean, it's not for selectmen, it's for the whole
That's
town.
for everybody. But if you go over here, you can see what we spent in the past. So we spent $967, $559, $551 in the 3 years before.
Yeah.
So that's, the ask is 1,000.
Okay. Didn't read that. Next line.
Is 2,000 for travel, and it's been 2,000, 2,000, and 2,000. We talked about this. 1,800 of it is for selectmen's alone.
Yeah.
So he gets $150 once a month, every month of the year.
Yeah.
And then the other is spent for his staff to be able to go places.
Okay.
The next number is the 3,000 for education and dues.
Yeah.
It was 3,000 spent, 2,900 spent, 1,737 spent. So in the past, it has been spent.
But this year, it's only $664.
Yeah, and I don't know where she is in.
Yeah, no, and so, you could take 1,000 out of that, I think. I don't know if she's gonna spend 1,000, you know.
Yeah, that's good.
Out of next year?
Yeah, I would think that.
Okay.
Postage.
Postage, I had 17. We cut this last year significantly to the 18 based on the trends.
Amy, is that line, does that cover my word, it's not the correct word, mass mailing?
Mailers.
Well, like a bulk permit? I do not think we
No,
carry a
it's-
bulk permit, but what that covers is the postage for my bulk mailing, when I did the whole town wide, the postage part came out of the postage line. When the tax bills get sent, the postage for the tax bills comes out of there. So we may use bulk mailing, but mine was done, the bulk mailing permit belonged to the printer. So he does the bulk mailing, but charges us the $600 or $800 that it costs to send to our entire residence. So then that goes into that postage line.
So it is bulk mail?
It is bulk mail, but we don't have the permit.
Yeah,
The printer
But
does.
it's not all bulk mail, there's a lot of individual.
I understand, Bob.
Quality Data does the same thing with the tax bills.
When I was on the 250th anniversary committee for a while, I was the fundraising guy, and I did go out and get a bulk mailing certificate, if you will, or whatever.
The license for the
The
year?
license.
But for the committee or for the town?
No, for the committee. The town didn't have one.
Right,
So we
no.
went out and got it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a big deal. You know, it was, I'm gonna give you some numbers, they may be a little bit wrong, but they're pretty close. Like
It's $1,200 a year.
$230
Yeah.
for the application.
Yeah.
The annual fee after that is $230 a year.
Yep.
And we mail at a cost of like 26 cents a mailing.
Yeah, but I think we don't need one for the town because when I bulk mail, the printer uses their bulk mail.
I understand that,
When
but are there
KDS,
other
they do
things,
theirs. I
are there
don't
other
think
things
so.
that we do in town that would warrant spending a couple $1,000
I don't think
for a
so.
bulk mailer? No.
Because the processing to get it in order for the bulk mail is such a pain that no staff is going to do that to organize it for bulk mailing under our own.
That's true. That was all done by volunteers, and it was a big pain in the butt.
Yep. So it is cheaper for us to use their permit and have them do the printing. They put their bulk mail stamp on it, and then they tell us what that bulk mail postage is. So we are getting the bulk mail postage rate, but
Okay.
not all the headache to do it with it.
Okay.
So I think
So you think that's a real number?
I think it's a reasonable number.
That's a real number, huh?
I do. Because you gotta remember, $6,000 or about is tied to tax bills, and that won't come until June, when we're mailing the tax bills. So I think, I'm not sure why it was so low last year. I think last year was an anomaly. I'm just hoping that it's not coming back to bite us this year. That there's not something more in there, but, so I think that is a reasonable number. Central office, this buys paper for the entire town hall. This buys pens, staples, file folders, pen flex, anything people need for everybody comes out of here.
Do we go to 5,000 with that?
Looks like no. I mean, last year we spent 69, 4, and 59, so.
But this year, you're only at 1,900.
I mean, we could, but it looks like historically we have used it. I don't know what's been bought in it in the
Yeah,
past.
like these notebooks that you, for
Right. Notebooks you get for budget.
budget and things come out of that. That's our supplies. If you want to,
So the 1952 is what's been spent already,
Yes,
out of the 65.
Did you
yes,
see her mind your way?
So we still got the rest of the year to go yet.
right.
So we're gonna eat up the rest of that money over the whole period of the year.
And I really try to look at trends.
That's my
If this
thing
number had
there, I
been
mean. 4,000
4,000 each of those 3 years, I'd say you're probably okay, but you're at 6 and you're at 7.
you could have cut 500 out. I guess that would be okay.
I hope they're as tough as everybody else if they are, you thought. Okay, so the 22 is required these payments, and last year we were over, and it looks like we're already to the tune of going over again. So that is not gonna, can't be lowered, it might need to go up.
Okay.
I'll have to do some more research on that. Printer and toner, this got switched, these no years used to be in IT, and it got switched out. Last year, I would not let them pre-buy. They had been in the habit of spending all the money in June.
Yeah.
I put a nix to that. They said, that's not how we should be operating. We should be hurrying up and spending in June for stuff that's going to be used next year. No different than I hold the same standard to the Board of Ed. I don't want to see you spending any of your money for things you're using next year just to use up this year's budget. So we did not buy anything last year at my request. As you see, we've already had to spend $4,000 this year. So I think the 10's probably reasonable. We might be able to go a little lower, but until we have a couple more years where we're actually buying as we need it, I'm not in a big hurry to give that money away as of right now. We also used it for printing of what did we print this year?
Well, the annual budget, but that was,
The annual report.
okay.
A chunk of the printing came out of here because I only had $1,500 in the Board of Ed budget, and it was 29 and change.
Finance, yeah.
So the Board of Finance budget only had $1,500 in it, and it was almost $3,000. So the rest of it came out of here. So that also not just printer toner, it's actually printing, if we have printing things that need to happen. Obviously, we talked about the community outreach and what we want to see there, and the Marshall supplies. I don't know why we break out a line for him. It used to be $700, we cut it to $200, but we don't even get anything tied to it.
That we don't get any,
Like
he hasn't
requests.
submitted a request for
Right.
anything.
Right. So I was kind of surprised by the comments tonight about it.
Well, but that was somebody saying he should do more. so we probably should leave the 200 in.
But I will tell you, when I do the uniform chart of accounts, this line and this fire marshal line are both moving out of here because they need to move to public safety. So I'll be reclassing them anyhow.
There's one thing that bothers me in that budget. There's really nothing for discretionary money in that at all. You've got it all assigned to something. What if something unforeseen comes up?
Well,
And Bob's got nothing to, no
your
money to
only
play
real
with.
discretionary is your professional services of 25.
Yeah.
That's it. When things come up, you either have to hope there's enough money in somewhere else, like postage or central supply or printer toner, to help cover something else.
You know, let me just throw one out, and that is the Broadbrook Mill Committee.
Yep.
That could turn out to cost us some money. And I say that, and let me just kind of enumerate a little bit. We had a meeting down in Hartford just this past week, or this week rather, and United Technologies made some moves that I think were pretty significant. They said that they would be willing to remove the pile of contaminated material, which we've been battling for a long time.
Yep.
And they would be willing to take the money that they were going to demolish the old mill building, Building 11, and they'd be willing to clean and clear that building, get all the junk out, the carpeting and all that kind of stuff, mold out, which is, I think, was one hell of a gesture. But having said that, the one thing they want to do, and they want to do forever, is to wash their hands of that site. And I think they have continued to want to they're willing to work with us to try to find a developer. But at some point in time, with those two diamonds sitting out there for us to reach for, which we dearly want, they're going to say,
You know you don't want to take ownership until those are both done.
no, I know that. We would never do that.
Okay.
But they made some, some things for us to consider. But those considerations,
If it's more than $20,000 by charter, has to go before a town meeting anyhow.
but I'm kind of thinking maybe we should throw in something like $10,000 just because it might happen. Now, I don't know.
What's the 10 gonna pay for, Charlie?
Well,
What's the 10 gonna pay for?
Well, and to answer your question, Steve, I don't know the answer to that, because it's a rather complex issue that may turn out to be something where we have to spend some money to work with them as a partner. And if we don't have the money, the deal may fall apart. And
I think we gotta rely on the Board of Finance to do a supplemental appropriation or maybe take something from contingency, so.
That is the one thing we do
That's what I was
have.
thinking.
We have a town-wide contingency of $50,000, but the only way it can be moved out of there is through Board of Finance approval.
they have not been terribly cooperative.
I know they have.
And I'm not throwing rocks at them. They got a big job to do, but they have not been terribly cooperative. I have no idea how they feel about the Broadbrook Mill, whether they would just soon see a big bulldozer run through it or not. There are a lot of people who do care about it.
But I'd say it's up to that group of people to get their people out there to get it voted.
Well, and they would probably do that. Some of them would get out.
So what's the percentage increase now with what's been done here on the selectmen? What is it now?
Still the
Around
same.
4?
It hasn't changed.
4.25.
Actually, I'm not that wedded to the 8,000. We can have the whole thing, and we'll put it in Board of Finance for 2,000 of it, because it's not, I don't have any control of that.
Community outreach.
Yeah, but I spend that.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
And we
Put it
need
in
that,
your
and
budget.
we need that to get our budget passed. So I think the 2 definitely needs to stay.
All right,
But
you got it.
how much more of the 10 you want to keep for you guys to be able to outreach?
Because everybody says we're not transparent enough.
Oh, yeah, and then communication is the biggest thing here. And when I took over, there was 10,000 in that budget, and that put the cameras in here. And then nothing else, and,
4 1/4 ain't bad, I would leave it alone.
okay.
All right, we can always come back to
Yeah.
that. But you know what? I know what you're saying, Andy, I'm not as close to all that as you are, obviously. But to have no pocket money
Nowhere.
in this budget for the first selectman, when something comes up, and it does.
Oh, it does.
Due to the.
We had to do a study on that building that cost, and I didn't even know what it was gonna cost. I knew it approximately, and then she sent the bill, and I'm not sure, I think it was somewhere between, probably $1,800.
I think together we spent $3,800 on the 2 different bills tied to the mill.
Yeah, and then there was
And we
another.
paid for it out of professional
Yeah,
services,
we did,
which might come back to bite us
yeah,
because we're out of money there.
yeah.
But the hope is that we can cover it with surpluses in some of the other lines
That's
that
true.
haven't been fully spent yet.
But Charlie hit it. I believe that the first selectman should have pocket money. I don't know how much, but he should have some discretionary money.
Should be, you might have $5,000.
Here, Bob, let me give you $100.
You will take it.
Don't I owe you 100?
It's only a start. We'll be back again.
I don't know, I mean, what do you call it? I can guarantee you in the Uniform Charter of Accounts, there is no spot for pocket money or miscellaneous
Well, you
or,
could put it in professional services, because that's where we used it this year, is like you said. We
And-
needed some
and like I
studies.
said, I did do that, a little bit of allocation, so you
Yeah.
have a little more money than you would have had in the past.
Yeah,
In the past, you were actually negative, because you only budgeted $10,100, and your 2 other categories are $10,800 without any professional service. So you're actually in the hole in this budget compared to this budget now. This is actually a $1,500 increase over it. And I did reallocate more to professional based on the change to recording secretary, which I'm sure is how it's been spent in the past. I'm sure it's been spent more on professional. This year's a perfect example. We know $3,800 was spent tied to things relating to the mill, those 2 different reports. So, I mean, we could add that more if you want to add more there. But that means you just have somewhere else you need to.
Let's leave it for now.
Okay.
We're gonna have a final version before.
All
So
right.
the
So you know what?
town clerk is what, minus 0.15%?
And her $6 of pens. Let's see, so this one we changed, this one we changed. Right? Those are the 2 we changed? I think so. I want to add them to my list later,
Okay.
because I want to keep a running track of changes of what got submitted and then all the things we added or cut.
Okay.
So that later, if somebody comes looking and says, what happened to DPW's request of X, we'll be able to tell where it is. Okay. So we did not add any more to that as of right now, but that's where we are with those guys. Okay, so town clerk, yes, is going down $207, and it was because something went out to bid and she was able to do it for $500 less.
All right, so we should be good there. We shouldn't even have to discuss any of that.
No.
Okay, so moving right along to the treasurer.
Do you want a break?
well, Andy said,
8:30.
we kind of said we'd end by now, so.
Yeah. I'm gonna do that.
We didn't get to building though.
No, we didn't.
That was our
I was
goal.
hoping to get that far. I was hoping to get that far. We
So
didn't.
when's our next meeting we got here? It's,
Next Thursday, right before this one. So it's only an
We'll be there
hour.
at 6 o'clock.
It's an hour on the front
Gonna
side
be
of your
right
board of
right
selectmen.
before our board of selectmen
Should.
again?
But you have a big, long board of selectmen agenda,
We do.
How come?
because there's a lot of things going on.
All right, fine.
Should we meet before that?
We could.
5? Want to meet at 5?
No, I think he meant a different day.
Different
Maybe a different day.
Different day. You know, once
Tuesday
we get
the-
going on this,
oh,
it's gonna
this
go
is the right
okay.
month.
So what about the day before
What is
our
January doing on
Wednesday?
here?
Take it off.
Wednesday's a mill meeting, but Tuesday will work for me.
What's wrong?
Tuesday and Wednesday, are you booked then, you guys, unless you come forward?
Yes.
Here's my-
Tuesday has Conservation Commission and Ag Commission.
6:30.
Tuesday?
Tuesday is the 7th, the 7 o'clock starts.
A 6:30 and a 7:30 on Tuesday. And then Wednesday has a 7 o'clock wetlands.
I don't know that one, that's scheduled, so that we
Okay.
Oh, that's not the right month either. Okay.
All right.
But it's the same commissions.
Yeah, zoning.
Yeah, so we don't have, every night, next week
Wetlands.
has something at 7 o'clock or 6:30. We already picked the 13th, right?
Yeah. we
That's
picked the
not on
13th.
here.
Yeah, so let's pick that.
If we did it on Tuesday, we could do it somewhere else, right?
We could, and we
Yeah, but
might
we
want
won't
a
have
TV
this
like this,
thing in
but I
front of
think-
us, though. It's nice
Well-
to have this.
Oh, we want this, but I think we can do it. We could just bring in a TV set and,
I mean, I like looking at that.
yeah, I agree with
You
you.
just go right down the
So
list and
if
see
we can
everything.
find- So if we wanted to look for a
I mean,
place,
she can keep talking, but I like looking at that.
Okay, but we're not gonna have one that big unless you go to Best Buy and get one.
You think we should go
I
get
got
one?
one, no, I got a TV.
Can we rent a movie theater somewhere?
Yeah, yeah, 55 inches, I think. It'll work.
Here we go.
So.
So you want to do the 5th? That's Tuesday?
I can't do the 5th. So,
Wednesday the 6th?
we do that.
You said you couldn't be here to sit.
That's a mill committee meeting.
Okay, so how about we go to the 11th, Monday, the 11th?
I'll check my calendar at home, but, yeah,
All
let's
right,
say yes.
Let's pick out a,
Let's say yes.
I'd like to do it sooner rather than later.
I would too.
Yes, well, this has to go to the Board of Finance by the 20th.
I know, that's why.
And I'm on vacation from the 15th to the
so we got
22nd.
so we got to.
So our meeting on the 13th really has to be all done.
What about Monday?
Monday, the
That's the
11th.
11th, that's what he's going to check.
Yeah,
That's fine. Is it-
good.
I think.
Yeah, okay.
So we do have the hour-long next week.
There's no charter on that day, is there?
Yeah, there is on the 11th. Can you guys do the 4th?
How about the 4th, Monday the 4th? Yeah, Monday the 4th.
Yes, the 4th, right?
We'll do that? Okay, so let's write these down.
Yeah, how come we can't like do this during the day? Because we're all, well, I'm not retired, but I can do what I want.
Well, Jason can't do it.
Well, he ain't here tonight anyway.
Yeah, we should try to have it.
Because he'll
We
complain.
can't do it at a time when Jason can't make it. If he can't make it.
Can't make it when he, normal time, then I guess that's his problem, right?
Okay, so we're gonna do it Monday,
4th,
Monday the 4th.
we're getting rid of the 7th.
And
We
we're gonna do
already
it
have, no, we still have the 7th, but we're just going to do
We'll
6
do it
o'clock.
for an hour, the 7th. And then we'll do it Monday the 11th. Okay, that's.
Monday's the 4th, I thought.
Well,
two
he's
Mondays.
thinking
Two
both
Mondays.
Mondays.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be 3/11.
3/4 and 3/11.
3, 4, and 3/11, and we're gonna still do the 7th
Yep, and the 13th.
and the 13th.
Yep.
All at 6
But you got
o'clock.
to post 3 or 4 tomorrow.
All right,
They've got to post the agenda.
So what is the date?
right there, those are the dates.
So it's Monday the 4th, which is just a few days from today.
3, 4, 6.
And we'll have to come up with a place to have it. This here's not available.
3/7,
Zoning Board of Appeals.
3/11,
We're not doing it, there's not a- so many-
3/13.
Oh, okay. That's canceled?
Thank
Okay,
you.
so we can do it here then.
Okay.
What's this article here, Charlie?
It's on the casino, Andy
Yeah.
had it.
Where'd you get that?
Andy
Oh,
showed it to me.
All right, so here, Monday is 6 PM here. Zoning Board of Appeals is not meeting.
Okay.
Yep, that's a 4th,
so
right?
Monday,
Yep.
yep, we'll be here.
And the
Monday will be here.
11th is where, here?
No, it's Republican Town Committee.
Yeah, so we'll have to find a place for the 11th, and we can find it.
Okay, but Monday's gonna be here.
Yep, Monday the 4th is here. Thursday the 7th is here.
6 PM?
Yep, but we're gonna try to keep it to just the hour so that you guys can get all your selectmen business done in your selectmen meeting.
And then the 11th, we gotta find somewhere.
The 11th, we gotta find somewhere, and the 13th is here.
We got the library.
Really? Do they have a screen in either of those
I
two
don't know.
rooms?
But like I said, I'll bring in a screen.
I can go see.
You need,
And the 13th.
you need a laptop.
And do you need the, whatever the connection?
I have the connection.
HDMI or
Yeah, I do
whatever?
have the HDMI. Okay.
All right,
All right.
so that's our game plan.
Is the camera off?
unanimous. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
I'm gonna finish my grinder.
Yes.